Going to the air again. That pass is high. Oh, what a one-handed grab by Pearsall. And then he took a pop at the 30-yard line.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
There's a slant on first down. Catch made by Coleman. Ding on Coleman, his first touchdown as a Seminole.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Youngblood, the man in motion. Simon feels the pressure. Hit as he throws. Intercepted. There he is, Cooper DeJean. And he's got some space in front. DeJean still on his feet across the 25. DeJean is going to take it for a pick six.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Penix looks the other direction down the seam. It's intercepted by Sanders-Still. Mikey Sanders-Still has a couple of blockers. A convoy. Michigan set up inside the 10.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
WKU will mix up tempos. Reed throws on the run, complete sideline, missed tackle, and this could be big. Hilltopper's on the way. It's Malachi Corley. Goodbye. 70-yard house call.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Play action, McMahon looking to fire to the end zone. McCaffrey on the run. Touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Friday. And I want to start by mentioning, we know how angry Mother Nature has been the last few days, but a retired stockbroker, one of our loyal viewers, is in an area that has been flooded multiple times, a couple of different times in the last week for sure. Thoughts and prayers out to where he is and others around him are as the rain continues to deluge at the early part of May. Just wanted to give him a little bit of a note that we're thinking about you, Chris, and his wife, and also everybody in that area that's down kind of, it's not Houston, but it's in between that Houston area and a little bit to the north. So good luck to him as they try to literally get out of all of the water surrounding that neighborhood and that city where he is. So the NCAA and also the future, which we have discussed many different times, and then yesterday another barrage of stories about roster management, revenue sharing, and much more. And from Ross Dellinger, from Pete Thamel, among others, even Dan Murphy, this is the story from yesterday evening that the new age or details on college football's model into the future, and again, this may be the case, scholarship expansion, which means, for example, a baseball team that normally has 11.7 scholarships to spread out among 32 players on a roster, some don't get anything. Will now have the option going forward that it could be 32 scholarships. Also, the average revenue sharing based on budgets, expenses, revenues for college programs among the power or autonomy schools. There's also damages. We've been saying 1.4 million could be almost 3 billion, or 1.4 billion could be twice that much. But of everything on here, Craig and Paul, that I saw, is the deadline they need, and this is good, deadlines make things happen, not the end of the year, but something needs to be formalized or at least grabbed onto moving forward within the next 40 days. Of all of that, no matter how much more universities and athletic programs have to spend, that timeline was a number that we said, heard a lot of and read a lot of yesterday evening.
Yeah, to get a nearly $3 billion settlement done in 40 days is quite look, they have to, They have to get this done. Now, does this guarantee they're out of court? No, but it guarantees they're out of this court. And if the NCAA decides to foot the whole bill, that's good news for the schools as they move forward, trying to do something that you saw in the tweet could probably cost them up to $300 million a year. There's a lot of actually good ideas and good things in this, which is rare. But Mal, maybe they've been forced into certain things, and we're going to see some change. And getting this done in 40 days might mean rapid fire. Here's where some new rules are going to come down.
Yeah, I mean, let's call this what it is. It's a concept. It's not anything that's being officially done just yet, but it is a concept on a new model. And so this is, at least ideas coming together and maybe some progress towards being the actual solution for at least the next few years, because I think we all know that there's no solution that outside of regular full employment, which they've evaded like it's the plague at every point in turn so far. Beyond that, there is nothing to guarantee you peace and solidarity for the inevitable future. I mean, so this is something that they're trying to work on to basically give themselves about a decade, right? Like a decade worth of peace and quiet potentially before more things pile up. But I mean, it sounds, I'm somebody who's just looking for them to solve it however they possibly can. It's not my checkbook that's cutting the money to pay the past athletes and the future revenue shares and all those types of things. But it's obvious that just all these things kind of coming together, they like the dam is going to break, right? Like if they don't solve some things here pretty soon. So this seems reasonable. It seems feasible. It seems like there's actually something to it, which is why Ross is reporting on it. Now, I know there's been other ideas that are kind of like they're there one day and then they're gone. But this one's got a bit more detail and it covers all of the bases. So yeah, if they can somehow come to an agreement on the revenue sharing, that eliminates the future issues as far as paying athletes. If you can come to a settlement on the back pay, that clears that out entirely. And then you figure out the revenue share part. Now, I still, I'll always tell you, I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know how having a cap of some sort would work and how that would be regulated or how that would be viewed. But if you can come to an agreement on that, I think that would be incredible for all parties. And, of course, here's the thing about the cap, so to speak, is I'm sure there will be a way through NIL where if Georgia wants to pay more, they can pay more, but it at least puts everybody kind of in the same park that's going to be playing together. So, yeah, it pretty much addresses everything, and it puts a deadline on it, like you said. So that gives us a little less than 2 months for this to all come together and get finalized. And if that could happen, that would be fan-freaking-tastic because it would knock out a lot of birds with one big stone of a college model here that we are seeing Ross and various others report on.
Start of his story was about the Scottsdale, Arizona, where they had Big 12 conference meetings. We mentioned your mark even a couple of days ago. And it was Dave Aranda hustling out the lobby door. I'm going to see the Arizona Cardinals, he said. Got to learn how to do all of this. And a lot of it was about roster management. How do you form a roster when you could end up with some sort of, again, these numbers, whatever, 20, 22 million, that doesn't mean that's going to be the number or how they'll do it going forward, but just kind of like, hey, I got to go learn this new system of how we're going to do it in college football.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I do think the scholarship limits being taken off on baseball would be huge, especially for the SEC schools who are already, really thriving right now. If you were to take off that cap, then I think that would be incredible news for baseball players. But, yeah, roster construction just in general, I think a lot of that comes down to, coaches just, tell me what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to have and how I'm supposed to get there, and then I'll figure out the rest of it. But, yeah, that's become more complicated than ever before because of so many one-and-dones and so many transfers in and out. And, yeah, I can only imagine what Dave Aranda and others are trying to wrap their heads around. And getting some advice from the NFL, I guess, makes some sense. Whatever you can get advice from and trying to do the best job you can. I mean, he certainly is in a position where he needs to do that. So if the Cardinals end up helping him win a couple more games, then it was the right move to go and talk to them.
Yeah, but it was interesting. One of the other notes about it, I thought, was the fact that the NCAA might bite this big bullet. This billion plus two or how many billions of dollars that the NCAA would then pay that out over, I think the term was a decade.
Right.
And the autonomy schools, which thought they might be paying for part of this because they're part of this lawsuit, might not have to, but they'll have to come up with extra money as they move forward with some of the new rules and how college athletics will work.
Here's why I think it's a good idea for the NCAA to do this and avoid a fight with some of those power conferences. The power conferences could make a real argument that, look, we've been wanting to do this for a very long time. You're the ones who were stopping us from doing it. Now, granted, that's a circular argument because the member schools are the NCAA, but like they're the ones who are like, you made the rule, like we're the one. We didn't slow it down. You did, and I get it that it's a little bit circular, but the NCAA has this money in the coffers. And if it has the money to be able to do this, it needs to go ahead and do it because the more they can get this settled and moved on, and they don't have to snipe each other about, oh, well, it's more the SEC and Big Ten's fault, or, the Big 12's like, well, this is really more of a you guys problem. I mean, you took our schools and all this and, all those things. If the NCAA just pays it, then they can move on and then set up the structures they're going to set it up.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some issues. This is dealing with the House case. There's another lawsuit that he mentions that would be an entirely separate thing. So this is not like it gets you completely into the free and clear, but it does take a huge load off of your plate that you've been dealing and wrestling with for, quite a while now at this point, to the point of, I think, damn near mental exhaustion for some of us following along with it, figuring out how they're ever going to get to a solution. And so this appears to be a solution to a rather large set of issues on their plate, but not the end of the road entirely. I do think there are questions about some of these things, but here's the deal. That money that you just talked about is way less than what it could be if they want to take this to court. Not even counting for lawyer fees, just the settlement that they could be handed if they were to try and actually test this out. They're not going to win. When have they ever won in court? And when have they ever won in a case like this where they're clearly in the wrong as far as athlete back pay? I mean, that number could be $5 billion as opposed to the sub 3 or sub 2 million they could end up paying. So that's simple right there. I mean, that's why you settle, because the alternative is paying twice as much.
Yes.
And maybe not even having a decade to do it. Maybe being told like, hey, half now, half in 6 months. I mean, I don't know how all that works, but it seems like a pretty sweet deal if you can get away with it. A lower number total wise, lower money number total, and a bit of a time to actually pay it off. I think you take that and you run with it as fast as you possibly can. So, again, these are negotiations. This is an idea, but it does appear, and we heard from the lawyer spearheading the House case, and I think very open to getting something settled. Not looking to try to drag this out and make this torturous for everybody, but let's see if they can actually finalize this, and if so, I think it's a big, big deal. I think there's a lot of questions about other areas like the scholarship lack of limits. Like, how would that work in football? Because you could see where the richer schools could then kind of just bring everybody. But then again, guys are going to want to play. So that's like a whole different conversation. But you could hoard guys, theoretically. And then, you know what, at the same time.
Which is what they did back in the days
Right.
where there was no scholarship limit at Oklahoma or Nebraska and at Texas and Ohio State back in the days of the 60s and 70s.
And eventually you're going to cut guys at the end of the year like you do anyways. And eventually guys are going to leave because they want playing time. So, again, that's a separate sort of a conversation. It's an interesting one, though, because I think that could get kind of squirrely in some ways, because we know that in college athletics, somebody – if not somebody's, are going to take advantage of whatever rule is out there. But beyond that, I think this would be a godsend for college sports, at least on the surface.
Well, with the one of the things that obviously was in this, and we haven't gotten to it yet, is the expansion of scholarships in other sports. So the 11.7 for baseball and softball would be no more, and so we'll talk about that in a second. But in that football scholarships could be reduced. And I don't think, like, where normally you would hear people freak out about that they're going to reduce the scholarships. I'm hearing Matt Rule talk about it this week. It's like, do you really need 85 now? Especially if you're going to have – he's like, NFL is a 53-man roster. Now, obviously, we need more than that because this is kind of a different thing. But do you need 85? Especially if now, like, post-COVID, we've seen teams – like, okay, we have 7 extra scholarships. Congratulations, Jimmy Walk-On. You're getting a scholarship.
Well, NILs are set up now to give money to non-scholarship or walk-on players. So that kind of can make you allow to kind of skew the number of how many you have on scholarship that, although getting paid are not technically on scholarship.
Yeah, no, there are, like I said, there are some questions like how does this affect women's sports? How does this affect non-revenue sports? We're talking and focusing on football and probably mostly men's basketball and maybe a little bit of baseball and women's basketball. But how are those affected by this? Because from a football point of view, yeah, you take this deal and you run with it in a second. But how does it affect other sports? I don't know that that's very clear. And also, where does the collective bargaining come in to play here? Where is that? Because I don't know that that's what you go for if you're the players, if that's not included, right?
Well, we're going to have Darren Heitner on in a minute, who's an NIL attorney, also has a legal firm, about that. And then also over the next few days, we'll have more who could explain what all this might mean. Yes, I don't know. I like employees, collective bargaining, all this stuff. We don't know. And so you're right. I don't know if you can do this without there being some sort of employees, collective bargaining, antitrust. I'm not smart enough to get all of that. So that's a great question, Craig, and also a point, too. Amanda Kristovich is going to join us. She covers a lot of the legal issues in college athletics. Never ceases to amaze me how much NCAA and top conferences are twisting themselves in the knots, admitting they know they should pay the players, but trying to keep them from being employees. She'll join us today at 4:30.
Yeah, well, have you ever paid somebody for something that is not technically employed by you? Like even, look, if I hire somebody to come and fix my plumbing, I mean, he's employed by a plumber, but technically he's working for me, right? So like are you going to 1099 all these guys? Like, what are you going to do? Are they freelancers? How are you, yeah, it is. It's interesting to be like, oh, no, they're not employees. They're something else. And like, but their salary is going to be $47,000 a year.
Yep.
But that's a very weird thing.
Greg, anything else? No, all right, so here's a couple of stories in college football. TCU defensive lineman, now Oklahoma defensive lineman, Dominic Williams. He put up a tweet last night. That's one from the Hayes Fawcett where he's committed to OU. He then mentioned about the process and Coach Venables and Coach Bates and the staff. 6'2", big defensive lineman, 60 tackles, nearly 10 TFL tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks for TCU. And it's been interesting to watch the reaction to him picking Oklahoma. Garrett, who did you think he was going to sign with, or who do you think he was going to transfer to?
It was either going to be Oklahoma, Texas, or LSU. After kind of watching how things were pairing out, I think you kind of saw a clear line. It was either going to be the Sooners or Texas yesterday, and ultimately Oklahoma got the job done.
Craig, who did you think he would end up with?
I mean, Oklahoma or Texas, so I'm not surprised by this at all. I think it's great for Oklahoma, obviously. I don't want to overplay it too much because, he's just one player and he's a really good player. But, I feel like some of the reaction is like they landed freaking Reggie White. And, I don't know if he's going to be that, but he's going to hopefully be a really good player for them. And I think there's reason for celebration because Oklahoma's been on the receiving end of a lot of losses in these, quote-unquote NIL battles. And so for them to go and win that one was a big deal and kind of a sign, I think, for the fan base of like, no, we can play too. We can pay and play. We can pay to play. Even though we pretend that's not the case. But they showed that with landing Dominic Williams. So I think in terms of a need, in terms of talent, in terms of winning a big recruiting battle for a big-time transfer, Oklahoma got to check all those boxes, and that was a really nice get for Brett Venables and his staff. So, yeah, that's a big one, and, would have been a great land for LSU or Texas as well. But that's a battle that I think the Sooners kind of felt they needed to win, and so they did, and that's a good one for them.
Paxton in the chat room, I'm happy for Texas not being financially taken advantage of by a 21-year-old kid.
Oh, they've been taken advantage of by many 21-year-old kids, Paxton. They will continue to be taken advantage of by 21-year-old kids, as will every single university. Just because they didn't maybe meet this guy's number, which is going to be rare for them, and Oklahoma beat it. That is not, look, they have. How much money did they pay Isaiah Naylor for nothing? Like, again, that wasn't financially taken advantage of. Like, no, come on.
Paxton's a good dude, but he's doing one of those things where your team doesn't get a guy, and all of a sudden, well, the other team paid more, or, he didn't really want to go there. His mom made him, and, there's always been something when you don't land a guy. So Paxton's just he's coming to terms with it in his own way, and that's fine. I don't care what they paid him, they got him. That's the whole point, and guess what? You can pay guys whatever you want to nowadays, so they did nothing wrong.
And by the way, they've been able to get a lot of the players. They do a great job with the NIL. Texas does, as now some schools are going to have to pick it up, and in this case, they felt like whatever the cost was, which we really don't know, no matter what any message board or anybody else on social media says, we really don't know the number.
I'll also tell you
But it was enough to get him to go to Oklahoma.
Boosters and programs have been getting financially taken advantage of by players long before it was legal. Long before. All over. Everyone. Even Texas. All of them. Like, that's the whole thing about when you pay a kid, like, you know, you've been financially taken advantage of a little bit, because if they produce, great. If you win a national title, great. But also, there's no ROI on a lot of these. Even like a good player. Like if you know, let's just say, and like I'm not saying that he did, but let's just say Vince Young got $2 million. You know,
coming out of Madison High School.
Coming like $2 million. It was worth it to the university. It was worth it to the oil billionaire who $2 million is nothing to him. But his ROI was only like, we won the damn thing. Well, that was it.
Yeah,
so
I think everyone's getting a little bit over the skis here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paxton, I saw some reactions last night after Dominic Williams made his decision. Oklahoma fans are thrilled. Some were like, oh, really? So you're going to go there and maybe win 8 or 9 games or whatever. It's one player, and it's a good player. So the bottom line, Dominic Williams has committed to play his football at Oklahoma. Here's one final note, then we come back with Darren Heitner. The EA Sports cover, Matt Brown, our good friend from the Extra Points, he put out a poll to a lot of his subscribers. 368 votes. Shedeur Sanders got the largest chunk of who should be on the cover, as far as if you had the one cover. Travis Hunter second, Quinn Ewers, Texas quarterback, third, and Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State running back, was then fourth.
Yeah, I think there's going to be, we talked about this the other day, I think there's going to be an interesting choice between Shedeur, Travis Hunter, and Ollie Gordon as far as one of those covers goes, since there's not going to be duplicates from the same conference. And then the way he positioned it was there's also not duplicate positions. So,
right.
If I had to guess, I'd say Quinn Ewers in the SEC, but I know Shedeur will be really hard to pass up. If you're not going to do that, though, Ollie Gordon or Travis Hunter would make sense. And I don't know what you do with the third cover potentially, but it is an interesting conversation. And interesting we get to have this conversation because we went years without having a game at all. So that's why I know people that don't play the game or never paid much attention to it don't really care, and they don't understand all the hubbub. I mean, it's even gotten so into the weeds that I don't pay attention to respectfully some of what Matt's reporting about, like the theme songs and stuff. Like, I'm not that into it, but I am very interested in the cover and who gets that, because that's a huge honor, and it's the first time somebody will have had that since, I mean, gosh, when was the last one? Was that
13 with
Denard Robinson? Yeah, I mean, that's a long time ago.
Was it really that long ago?
Yeah,
I guess it
over
was.
10 years ago.
Denard Robinson from Michigan, right? All right, so there's that. Carson Beck was highly up there. Jackson Dart, a couple of quarterbacks in the SEC. Dylan Gabriel, I think, had the most votes among players who will be a part of the Big Ten next year.
I could see him as the Big Ten guy, and also because of the West Coast, you can kind of incorporate all of that. So I think that would make sense, and that's why you maybe wouldn't have Ewers. I don't know what you would do there instead, but that's what we'll find out soon enough, I suppose, and we can have a whole conversation about who they did pick and how that all worked out.
One final quick note, break, come back with Darren Heitner. Mike Riley, former coach at Oregon State. He was at Nebraska, replaces Pat Chun on the College Football Playoff Committee. He will replace Chun, who has resigned, stepped down from that position. He's now the new AD at the University of Washington. So Mike Riley will actually be a part of that College Football Playoff Committee this fall.
An actual win, sort of, kind of, for Oregon State. That's not just on the field, so that's got to feel pretty good. I know they had the big win over the PAC as far as the settlement goes as well, but since then it's been kind of quiet, if not good, obviously. So yeah, that's good. They got an ally. If anything, I don't know how much of a difference that makes in the playoff committee, but it's a nice little thing to have a feather in your cap.
All right, when we come back, Darren Heitner, NIL attorney, the Heitner Law Firm, on all of what's stirring up again in college athletics, his thoughts and take on it from his perspective. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicalOT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, used to be by checking your testosterone level. How do you go about doing that? Dr. Petty, go to the website, PettyClinicalOT.com, and contact them. They will set you up to get your blood work. They'll take care of that appointment for you. Get the results from your blood test or blood work, and then if your testosterone level is low, Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can give you an option to get yourself back to where you want to be, to get your testosterone up where it needs to be. PettyClinicalOT.com. Again, be the man you want to be, used to be, and need to be with Dr. Kent Petty and PettyClinicalOT.com.
It's the season to rev up your drive with Alan Samuels with the new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Your ultimate destination for unbeatable deals and top-notch service. Looking for a reliable ride to conquer these beautiful spring days? Look no further. The powerful trucks and sleek sedans are the perfect SUV. We've got the perfect vehicle to match your style and budget. Over 300 new vehicles to choose from. Now's the time to make your move. Enjoy special discounts, low financing rates, and incredible incentives. But hurry, these offers won't last forever. Alan Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Kasasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Kasasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. See GencoFCU.org for details. NCUA.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports on this Friday afternoon. Darren Heitner from Heitner Law also teaches NIL at Miami and joins us on 365 Sports. I've been following Darren for quite some time. Even before some of this started to pop with the NIL and, at Miami Law, and also what he does with sports entertainment and intellectual property. Darren, thanks for your time with Paul and Craig. I'm David Smoak. So are you surprised at how rapidly things are changing after so many decades of just like sitting on the hands when it comes to the NCAA and letting athletes get their value?
First of all, thanks so much for having me. And no, I'm not at all surprised. It's almost like a volcano that is gaining so much gas and steam, and then it just explodes all at once, and there's collateral damage surrounding that. I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. July 1, 2021, the writing was on the wall for a very long time for the NCAA to know that states, one by one, were passing legislation, having it signed into law to say, heck with the NCAA's prohibitions. We're going to allow athletes in our states to take advantage of their NIL. And lo and behold, it wasn't until hours before July 1, 2021, if we think back 3 years ago now, that the NCAA finally caved in and said, all right, we'll allow it around the nation. And since then, it's been update after update. I feel like every day I wake up and I don't know exactly what is going to occur. What's going to be the latest update? Which state is going to revise its law and push the envelope a bit more? Which person on Capitol Hill is going to propose new legislation that gets nowhere? I mean, almost every day, the story sort of writes itself.
Darren, what do you think this means? So if they do go to this structure or something similar like it, what do you think it means for NIL collectives and how they will continue to operate? Because it doesn't seem to me like they would be mutually exclusive or the schools could just take it over without a collective deciding to exist if it wanted to.
Well, I assume you're referring to if there is a structure implemented where there's revenue sharing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so if that occurs and we don't really have an appreciation as to what it will look like, we only are hearing leaks associated with settlement communications in a case called House v. NCAA, and those leaks include that there will be a cap on the amount of revenue that can and will be shared by schools. From my perspective, collectives will still exist. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. And to supplement whatever the revenue may be that is shared on a school-by-school basis. And just because there may be a cap at some number doesn't mean that every single school, even those in the Power 4 or 5 conferences, are going to reach that cap. And so I think collectives will still serve a very important role in trying to create competition school to school, primarily between those schools in the same conference.
So just to be clear, Darren, and I want to ask you more about just this in general, because everybody's acting like here's our solution, and it doesn't appear, it appears too good to be true for one. But so if there was a cap of $20 million, if Georgia wants to pay up to $20 million, they can do that. If TCU wants to pay only 16, they can do that. But can Georgia only spend 20, or can they spend 20 and then NIL Collective can do another $5-10 million on the side of that? Could you kind of clear that up for me?
Sure. Technically, the collectives have and the schools have very much taken the position thus far that they are not one and the same, that collectives are third parties that absolutely are intended to benefit specific schools, but that even though coaches beforehand, behind closed doors, now much more overtly, are involved in the process of determining which players the collective should be reaching out to and the amounts of money that should be offered, technically, they're taking a position we're not the same. Now, there is pending litigation, including a case against Oregon that tries to tie the two together for Title IX purposes, but at least thus far, there hasn't been a ruling in that case or otherwise that says this is all, this is false and the collective is actually part and parcel of the school. So to your question, in that situation where one school may be offering $20 million in revenue sharing and another one in $12 million, nothing would preclude a collective at the school that is at the cap of the revenue sharing from adding additional dollars and spending it.
So when it comes to what Ross Dellinger and many others wrote, it all seems great on the surface of college football fans who would just like some peace and for everything to kind of be settled, but it almost does seem too good to be true because there seems to be a lot of different things that aren't quite fully answered. When you read this proposal, what immediately jumped out to you as far as what's realistic and what is a big question mark as far as getting this across a finish line anytime soon?
Well, I didn't take the position that it's necessarily great or too good to be true. And I heard you use the word solution before. Well, the solution to what problem? I think that's an important question.
House.
Well, right. So the problem right now for the NCAA, for the conferences, and for the schools is that they just keep getting sued and they keep losing. But I don't take the position that a settlement in that case is going to end that in any way, particularly if there is a cap on the revenue sharing. It's those caps that have largely become the subject of litigation against the NCAA that it has lost. I mean, think back to Alston. So the first thing that I wondered when I started hearing about these leaks and the confidential settlement communications is, why would communications that are intended to be confidential start getting leaked? Why is there language in some of these articles, I think one written by Dellinger, that says the plaintiff's lawyers have given an ultimatum saying we got to get this done within 40 days or else? I think really what's happening is that the lawyers are using the media as pawns. And I don't know that there's really a settlement that's about to be brokered, whether that settlement will get approved by a court of law, whether athletes will opt out of the class and bring their own cases. If the solution is ending litigation, I just don't see how we're anywhere near that.
What do you think, Darren? I saw the 40 days. I brought that up on the show. I've seen what Jeffrey Kessler has said about you don't want to get into this jury trial. You don't want to get to the first of the year. In the end, you've been following this. You're very much involved in all of this. What's going to happen? What will it look like? God knows whenever this thing ever is finalized.
I think the biggest concern right now for the NCAA, the schools, the conferences, isn't necessarily shielding themselves from future litigation. If they really, really thought that was priority number one, they would actually recognize the athletes as employees and collectively bargain with them, because you would then shift from allowing athletes to sue on antitrust grounds to it becoming a freely negotiated agreement or labor law controls, and you would preclude litigation. I think the biggest concern with House is you've had a Class B certified, and there's now on the table upwards of $4+ billion in damages. And so that's priority number one to me. I do think a settlement makes sense for both sides. For the NCAA and the schools, absolutely, to mitigate some of the potential ramifications of going to a trial where it could be $4+ billion. Even if you're settling at past damages of 2.9, that's still saving at least $1 billion, which is a lot of money. And then on the plaintiff side, if you're a lawyer, you like money in hand, you like money today, you don't want to have to deal with an appeals process. And if you're taking a contingency on $3 billion, it's not so bad. So it makes sense for both sides to settle. I'm not understanding, and I haven't seen anyone explain it well, how a settlement would preclude future lawsuits. Not unless you consider these athletes employees and you start collectively bargaining with them.
Darren, they've done this dance with Congress for a few years now, and it's starting to get kind of tiresome, and there's bills and all that. Would this be a gateway for Congress to try to codify these things, or do they need to maybe get completely out of court before Congress gets involved, which would obviously now at this point be after the election?
Neither.
Okay.
Congress doesn't typically codify settlement agreements. Congress is paying attention to what's going on and is absolutely speaking to the same sources that are providing information to Ross Dellinger and the writers at ESPN. But Congress has been following NIL and litigation surrounding the NCAA for many years. There have been dozens of pieces of legislation drafted, just never getting out of committee or being on the floor for debate. I actually recently was on Capitol Hill at a roundtable hosted by Ted Cruz, and I've followed up very closely with his staff, and there's still continuing efforts by Congress to find a consensus between Democrats and Republicans. They just haven't gotten there, and I don't know that they ever will, particularly in an election year. So I wouldn't hold my breath that all of a sudden Congress is going to step in, whether or not this settlement comes to fruition.
Darren, you mentioned collective bargaining a few times. Is there any kind of a future you see without that for the athletes?
Sure. I actually think athletes right now are probably experiencing somewhat of a golden age. are able to transfer freely year to year. In essence, they are unrestricted free agents. They're able to negotiate their quote unquote salaries going into college, and then on an annual basis thereafter, even though we're calling them NIL payments and paid by collectives, there's no cap whatsoever. So, gosh, I think we've gone from a position before July 1, 2021, where athletes were absolutely repressed. And I know people will say, well, they got scholarships and they should be satisfied with that. Well, sure. I mean, go for employment and be told, take this or else, and you can't go elsewhere. I never thought that was a good situation for them. But now they're in a great spot. So, be careful what you wish for, I would say. With employment doesn't always come a better situation. Right now, they are in, many of them, not all of them, but many of them are in situations that professional players wish they could be in. So they should be counting their blessings.
Why do you think the schools are so hesitant to enter into employment agreements? What is the big issue there? Is it financially? Like what is the hang up? Because that seems like it would be the agreement that everybody could come to that would, I guess, solve quite a few different things. But why do you think the schools are basically trying to explore every nook and cranny before getting to that point?
Yeah, primarily it has to be a financial issue, whether it's reclassifying schools, conferences, NCAA from a tax perspective, the spend that is going to be required, the benefits, and so on and so forth, that comes with being a W-2 employee. So I think that is absolutely the first concern for the schools, for the NCAA. And then, look, if they do become employees and they're able to collectively bargain, if they're able to unionize and form a bargaining unit, then they can also bargain for other working conditions that changes in the system. I don't know that that's as big of a concern for schools. I do think it's economic.
Darren, I know you got to go, and we appreciate your time. Is one of the concerns, like it is anywhere else, the representation that these student athletes are getting through NIL, and they have to be careful about what they're signing and making sure that they understand what they can get or and what they are going to get?
Oh, sure. This is something that I deal with on a daily basis. I represent athletes as their legal counsel, either against unscrupulous agents who try to bind them to terrible agreements and then try to exploit them for money that they don't deserve. I help them with their collective contracts, where oftentimes the document that we receive is extremely one-sided. And you could say it's illusory or unconscionable. And then I go to the collective and they say, well, we've had 75 players just take our agreement and sign it. And I feel terrible for those players. So, yeah, that is part of the seedy section of this industry right now. And I give the NCAA a little bit of credit there, because it does appear to be interested in trying to take some of that out of the equation, whether it be through providing sample clauses, trying to create uniformity in the contract language, and creating a database of agents and other professional service providers where athletes can provide ratings and so on and so forth. So I think there are actually, we shouldn't just attack the NCAA at all times. There are efforts that the association is undertaking that I think are quite noble.
Could you ever see a day where you would want one of your clients to take a job or take an NIL opportunity and also connected to whether they play in bowl games or anything like that?
Yeah, look, I actually have no issue with that. I like situations where parties can negotiate at arm's length for pretty much anything. One of my gripes with the NCAA's NIL rules, outside of the illegal inducement provision that has now been enjoined preliminarily through the case of Tennessee and Virginia, is that the pay for play rule, because I think you should be able to incentivize the players for their performance on the field. Professional athletes can get bonuses if they get over 1,000 yards receiving or get elected to the Pro Bowl, et cetera. Why shouldn't NCAA players be able to benefit in the same way? And similarly, brands who sign athletes who are professional, can put in clauses where the athletes don't receive money if they don't play. And, I think that's only fair for the brands when it comes to college athletes too, but they're prohibited from doing that as well. And I never really heard a good justification from that from the NCAA. And I wonder if that's going to be something that's challenged in the near future.
Hey, Darren, thank you, man. Appreciate it. We took more of your time than I said we would, but it was worth it. I hope it was for you as well. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, be well.
Darren Heitner, NIL attorney, his own law firm, the Heitner Law Firm, also teaches NIL at Miami Law. And I've been following him you guys know this, for quite some time. And not everything that he's put out there have I always liked, but good to get him on today. I'm glad we did, especially with so many things swirling, as it seems like is every day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk legal stuff every single day.
No,
I don't want to do this every single day, but, it's notable in light of Ross's article. I saw somebody in the chat say lawyers making a lot of money off college athletics right now. God, no kidding. I mean, what a spot to be in if you were a guy like Darren Heitner, who's got the knowledge and the ability to navigate through the NIL stuff and all of this other stuff as well. There's a lot of money to be made for lawyers in college athletics right now. That is for sure. And I thought he cleared up some things and made some interesting points. I think the issue with the pay for play, whereas he looks at it as like, hey, if James Jackson runs for 1,000 yards, he gets $5,000 from Oregon State after the season's over with. I don't think there's an issue with that either. I don't think any of us would really take issue with that. But I think when we hear pay for play, that's not what we think of. We don't think of like getting paid for what you did after the fact, what you earned, incentives. We think of like, hey, come here, we'll give you $500,000 just to play here. And that's what's the difference is. It all goes back to recruiting. That's where all the seediest stuff is in recruiting. And that's where all the rule breaking is and the rule bending is. And so, yeah, by his definition, I don't think that would be an issue. But by, what I think of when I think of college football and pay for play or college athletics and pay for play, I'm not thinking of incentives. I'm thinking of, hey, come play here. We'll give you $500,000 to do it or whatever that number total would be. I did think one of the most interesting things he said was about the collective bargaining agreement. I've seen a lot of – that's why it's good to talk to an actual lawyer because there's a lot of pretend ones on Twitter. And so it was good to hear on the collective bargaining. I've seen a lot of like, well, anything without a CBA, no, going nowhere.
Yeah.
No starting point even to begin with. No way. And he just laid it out there. Well, that's not necessarily even good for the athletes in general. So, again, be careful where you're getting your advice, right? Because some guys might tell you like, yes, CBA, that's the way, boom or bust. And then here you have him laying out a couple of reasons as to why that might not actually be the best thing in the long run. So, yeah, lawyers are going to keep feasting on college athletics for a good long while. They're going to get fat and happy and rich on it, and I'm glad we have some that can help clear this up. But, it's still not as clear-cut as what has been laid out from time to time from SI or ESPN. We appreciate those guys, but we also know they are and can be mouthpieces, and I do think there is a lot of that going on right now where – well, here's this new playoff format that has to happen or else, the sport falls off a cliff. And then, boom, that comes and goes. And like, well, here's this new thing, and this is about to get done, and then it doesn't. And so there is a lot of posturing, I think, going on and a lot of floating things out there to see what the reaction is going to be. And I think we could use a little bit less of that and a little bit more actually getting real things done.
Yep, I agree. But thanks to Darren for being a part of the show. Appreciate him. We'll have Grayson Grundhafer in a moment. Joseph Duarte covers University of Houston. At 5 o'clock today, Craig Smoak on some of the Big 12 uniform reveals, including yesterday's West Virginia black coal reveal. That and more. Amanda Kristovich will join us at 4:30. This is 365 Sports. And Ideal MRI, state-of-the-art imaging machine, $497 or less every time you go into their machine or you go and are a patient or customer of their business. If you have something that shuts you down, shoulder, knee, back, ligament, muscle, whatever it might be, and you just can't find out what it is, your doctor has an idea, but he wants to also get more evidence. They know about Ideal MRI because it's a great place to get your imaging a great place to get the evidence, and it's also a great place for you to save a ton of money compared to the $1,100 or so that is the average MRI across the country. Ideal MRI, their location in the Central Texas Marketplace on the southern part of Waco off I-35. $497, an incredible MRI imaging machine that I have been in 3 times. Techs and specialists that are fantastic. They'll get the images up in the portal for you and also for your doctor to find out and hopefully solve what is hurting you and shutting you down at idealmri.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets, sirloin steaks, bone-in ribeyes, boneless ribeyes, and even prime rib. Cut specifically the way you want, the thickness that you want. They're all delicious. They have Norwegian salmon, mahi-mahi, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey, variety of cheese, and several options of sausage links, and even regular jalapeno or cheese snack sticks, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, and ground beef, marinated beef or chicken fajitas, and always large briskets and tri-tip available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, a full-service butcher shop and bakery, open Monday through Saturday. The Bauer family, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or wacocustommarketplace.com.
Carry On Solutions is a full-service IT management service provider and provides professional services for businesses servicing clients in the U.S. and globally. They are authorized partners with Microsoft, Quest, Veeam, NetApp, HP Enterprise, and Cisco Duo. Whether you are outsourcing IT services, merging companies, or wanting to tackle cybersecurity challenges, contact Carry On Solutions. We are IT. Call or email Dave at 832-437-0138 or sales at Carry On Solutions. That's CARRION Solutions.com.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
365 Sports continues this 3 o'clock hour. Joseph Duarte on the University of Houston, kind of a post-spring football and a thought or two about their uniforms. Craig gets more into that today at 5. Grayson, thanks for your time. Last weekend, Baylor came out of it with 3 transfer players. They need all of them and more. What is the next haul, or how many more transfer portal players do you think they'll get that can actually fill a role?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really interesting time, to be honest with you, because, you know, you kind of look at what they did the first weekend. They brought in 3 guys. They landed a commitment from all 3 of them. And that was, you know, very impressive. They got their priority guys on campus, and they were able to land them. And come away with a very successful weekend. But I think what they're looking at now is they absolutely have to land prospects on the offensive line. That's been a reoccurring theme, and that's been something that I know we've talked about a lot on this segment as well. They have to figure out a way to get that position solved. And I expect them to take at least 2 offensive linemen, maybe even more than that, maybe a third. Probably if they don't land the guys that they really, really want, I could see them taking a third offensive lineman. And then outside of that, they have a couple roster spots. If they take 3, they'll have 1 roster spot remaining. So they kind of have a little bit of flexibility, but in general, the focus has been and will continue to be on the offensive line until they land guys that they feel comfortable with there.
Grayson, I know that they are going to host one offensive lineman from A&M, but have they kicked the tires at all on Bryce Foster?
Yeah, I think that has been one of those where I think they've evaluated him. I'm pretty sure that there has been some sort of contact made, but since he's not visiting currently, I would say that, their focus has mainly been on Colton Thomasson, who's the other A&M offensive lineman you mentioned, who was a 4-star prospect in the 2023 class, hasn't played much so far during his true freshman year. So he kept his red shirt and has 4 years of eligibility remaining. I know the staff is really, really high on him, and I know he's the guy that they absolutely would love to land in the class. But as far as Bryce Foster goes, nothing quite yet, nothing substantial enough to really report on, even though I do think he would be a very nice fit and would be a very good prospect to have at the center position.
How badly do you think the program just needed what they got last weekend with that trio of transfer commits? In terms of, need that for sure, but also just some good vibes, for lack of a better term.
I think that the more you kind of looked at it last weekend, the more you kind of came off the weekend and saw just fans being excited, and you saw fans just kind of thinking, the fans that at least have a little bit of reasonable optimism. I think they felt like that was a really, really encouraging weekend for the program in general, for them to bring in the 3 guys that they wanted more than, anyone else, and for them to bring those guys in and then to land them. I think it is a big deal, and it speaks very highly of the coaching staff and speaks very highly of kind of the vibes that they give off whenever they have guys on campus. So I think, for optimistic fans, I think they were excited. I think for some other fans that are kind of out on, what's happening at Baylor, I don't think it really moves the needle that much for that particular set of fans. But obviously, everyone's different, and everyone has their different take on the coaching staff and, where the Baylor program is at in general.
Grayson, several wide receivers last week out the door. They added a couple at that position in the in the December, January transfer portal window. Do you think that's a position they have to address in this portal window?
I think that's a position that is kind of one of those where I think the more that you kind of look at it and you say, okay, I think they could add depth at that position. Yes. But I think in general, they have the foundation pretty much set there. When you look at as far as for this particular season, they have, your slot receivers, you have your guys on the outside that can go up and get the football. They have the guys that kind of fit the scheme. Personally, if I was looking at a wide receiver, if I was Baylor, it would probably be someone who is maybe a young project type, someone who you feel like could contribute this year, but has a bright future for the years to come. Because if you look at their depth chart, it is very loaded to seniors and veteran guys. They don't have a lot of guys with multiple years of eligibility, and that's why the 2025 class is going to really focus on the wide receiver position. And that's why, kind of when you look through the transfer portal, I think they're probably going to look around at guys, but you're going to have one that really pops out because they don't have a lot of room.
Basketball-wise, Jonas Adu chooses to go elsewhere. Baylor hopefully was going to land him, but that's not the case. And so now we have a bunch of coaching staff announcements earlier today that were expected and teased for quite a while. Bill Armstrong, Steve Henson, and then Tweety Carter also gets promoted. Just kind of where's your head at and your thoughts on what you've seen collectively from the basketball news wire over the last few days?
Obviously missing on Jonas Adu was something that, that's a tough blow. Arkansas did a really good job on their visit, and obviously, the way things are now in NIL and the way things are now in just recruiting in general, to get that last visit does become very important. And Arkansas got that last visit, and they were able to land him, even though he was a pretty heavy Baylor lean coming off of his visit. I think most people would have said he was for sure going to go to Baylor, and Calipari and Arkansas came in and they were able to land him. And that's a good pickup for them, and it is a tough miss for Baylor. But I will say, I think Baylor fans are going to be really excited by kind of just the direction that this program goes in as far as the transfer portal goes. I do think that Baylor is still going to be very, very productive coming off of kind of this transfer portal cycle. And I think the team is going to be in a really, really good position to succeed this upcoming season, even without Adu. I think they're going to make the necessary additions that they need to make. I think they're going to find guys that complement the roster really well. And I do think that they're not done yet as far as the transfer portal goes. They will definitely have some say in changing up their roster a little bit over the next, week, I would say. As far as kind of the staff go, I think it's really cool that Tweety Carter, got promoted. I know I posted a tweet about it after John Rothstein reported it. It was pretty cool just to see Baylor fans' reaction and just how excited they are, to see a former Baylor player get that opportunity. So, I think that was kind of the most notable part of it. But I also think you kind of look at the other guys they hired and you're seeing guys that have a lot of experience, whether it's Steve Henson, who was the head coach at UTSA for 8 years, got let go, and Baylor immediately picked him up to be an assistant. That's huge. You look at Bill Armstrong and what he did at Link Academy, and he was with Will Wade at LSU for 7 years as well. There's just a lot of excitement, I think, from these hires, guys who can recruit, guys who can really coach basketball. And I think in general, I'm not going to say that this Baylor program was struggling. Obviously, they weren't. But I do think sometimes, as you kind of look through and see kind of the struggles that they've had over the last couple of years in the NCAA tournament, I don't think it's crazy to think maybe a change, a couple of changes on staff and just mixing things up a little bit. I think you could say that could be refreshing and maybe push them even further in the postseason as things move forward to this year.
As far as Henson, he played at Kansas State. He played his college basketball there, like you mentioned, almost a decade at UTSA. Bill Armstrong has been at Link Academy. You mentioned that as well. Trey Johnson, who's at Texas, I believe, was at Link Academy, among others. Baylor's been able to get players from places like that, whether it's Jacoby Walter or VJ Edgecombe, among others. Is that, you think, the link? I hate to use the word link, but is that also part of that thinking?
I think it definitely is. Jacoby Walter played there, and you mentioned they recruited Trey Johnson, but Jacoby's the only one who played there, then ended up at Baylor from Link Academy. They are recruiting five-star guard Jasper Johnson, who currently plays at Link Academy as well. It's a really good program, but I do think this is more so about the fact that, Bill Armstrong's a really good coach, first and foremost, but then also, I know this people might have controversies about this, but go look at how LSU recruited with Will Wade. They recruited really, really well. And I do think that Bill Armstrong's going to bring that aspect as well, Smokey. But I do think he's also a really good coach and someone who's going to, I think, have a pretty heavy impact on this team.
I know you said, and thanks for your time today, about they will be fine in the transfer portal. Is that something that you see could be, you said a week. I know Ashley's posted some things too. Do you feel like that they'll get a big somebody inside replacing Adu if they get another player from the portal? That's what it'll be?
I think they definitely need to get some size on the interior, someone that can help with rebounding and someone that can also just be, I think whether you would say versatile, but I think the biggest thing is just really good defensively. I think that's a huge thing. And all the guys that they've looked at in the portal have been guys who can really play defense, gritty, hard-nosed type guys that are experienced. And so I expect Baylor to end up with a guy like that in the transfer portal. And, I think definitely within the week, maybe even sooner than that. I think Baylor, again, they're going to continue to recruit the transfer portal. And just because they missed out on Jonas Adu does not mean that they don't have something else potentially working. I mean, this program is operating at a very, very high level, and I expect them to continue to do so. And I think Baylor fans and anyone who covers Baylor is probably going to be pretty excited by the roster that Scott Drew eventually puts together.
Grayson Grundhafer with us, 365 Sports recruiting analyst and also college football. Breaks down a lot of what they do with the program there in men's basketball. Paul has an interview with Tweety Carter we recorded before the show today. That will be at 5:30. Coming up next, Joseph Duarte looking back at the University of Houston, wrapping up their football, and what are some of the positives and maybe not so positives. This is 365 Sports. If you order by Wednesday, 6 o'clock, and it's too late for this week. In fact, there's a lot of customers right now that are picking up product at Waco Custom Marketplace when it comes to a crawfish boil. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available for just over $3 a pound. Right now and every week until that slows down sometime during the summer, it's 30-pound bags of live crawfish. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace can be what you need when it comes to your butcher shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. The bakery with desserts and, yes, Texas treats there, too. Waco Custom Marketplace, every Wednesday by 6, order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish. Pick it up anytime after Friday at 4. The Bauer family and Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. It is time to announce the 14th annual Academic All-Stars team right here on 365 Sports. Hi, this is David Smoak. Our 20 Academic All-Stars have an overall grade point average of 103.2. 5 members are headed to a military academy. There are 6 valedictorians and 2 salutatorians. Our 2024 Academic All-Stars team includes Ryder Bagley from Groesbeck, Chilton's Colton Bossy, West Cole Bryant, Casey Cavanaugh from Troy, Lorena's Emily Flores, Whitney's J.C. Green, Franklin's Sarah Heisler, Academy's Madeline Hammonds, Waco High's Alexis Hookham, Kate Humphreys from Clifton, Marshall Cobb of Midway, Temple's Claire Little, Salado's Case Majin, Houston Powers of Crawford and Thorndale's Emily Reeves, Landon Richardson of Lampasas, Milford Shimon Rogers Jr., Brady Schultz of Abbott, March Monty Swainer, and Avery Thaler from Fairfield. The 2024 Academic All-Stars team is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Westdale Asset Management, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ray Broker, Air Conditioning and Heating, HEB, Award Specialties, Healer Printing, Wolf Florist, Baylor Club, and the Waco Foundation. We will honor the 14th annual Academic All-Stars team at our annual banquet, Wednesday, May 15th at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. We're proud to recognize these elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, our 14th annual Academic All-Stars team, right here on 365 Sports.
Cars priced right, both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, covers University of Houston and much more in that big monstrous city to the southeast of us. Joseph with Craig and Paul, David Smoak on 365 Sports. So did you ever have on your bingo card that there would be a discussion about the University of Houston taking on the NFL with Columbia blue jerseys?
No, probably not. And, this has been a more than a year-long saga in terms of wanting to do something, being told you can't do something. It's like the kids and the parents tell you, hey, you can't do that. Well, Houston's playing the role of the kid and we're going to go do that. So, it's kind of crazy with the alternate jerseys that you're speaking of and the blue kind of Oiler theme look, but it's going to happen in Houston probably here in the next year or less.
Do you think that obviously Chris Peasant wouldn't do it if he didn't think he had some sort of leg to stand on and they could make some sort of modification that would find them out of the copyright? Do you think they have a good shot at winning that?
Yeah, they wouldn't go forward if they didn't think so, and I think it comes down to a lot of people say, well, what right does the NFL or the Tennessee Titans franchise have to a specific color? And in this case, it's not Columbia blue that Houston is using. They're calling it Houston blue. It's a slight variation. At the same time, they've also done some modifications with the striping on the sleeves, on the pants. And frankly, they don't use the oil, Derek. They use a script Houston on the helmet. So there's plenty of ways around it that they feel. And, oh, by the way, Ole Miss, Louisiana Tech, a lot of other schools, Drake in basketball has done it. They don't feel like what they're doing is any different than schools that are already doing it and have been permitted. So, yeah, they do feel like they have a good case.
I guess my only question on the uniforms, and I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing. I think it's great. I think they're great alternates and love the look. But I know a big point of contention last year, Joseph, was, hey, the NFL says you can wear these, but you can't sell any merchandise. Are they going to sell merchandise with the blue color, or is that maybe treading too much and then asking for some legal action?
No, I think this is all in.
Okay.
And Chris Pesman didn't specifically address that because first they're getting through the design phase, but I cannot see a scenario that they would roll out something so popular. And he even mentioned the overwhelming response that it got back in September when they rolled it out, that it sounds very certain that there will be some type of selling of merchandise that will go along with this.
Joseph, looking at Houston, Willie Fritz first year, I know they've had players enter the portal. I know he made some comments about that was to be expected anytime there's a coaching change. Where would you say they are based on the comings and the goings with the moving forward now that this transfer portal window is closed?
Well, coming into Willie Fritz's first year, looking at the roster and what he inherited, there were going to be a lot of holes that they've had to fill through the portal since he got here in December. And like you said, they're no different than a lot of schools in terms of losing guys to the portal. And I think that number gets magnified because of what that number is. But you look at what they've lost, certainly losing Sam Brown, their leading receiver, to Miami was a big blow. This week, they lose a starting cornerback who had a team-high 4 interceptions. And maybe with the exception of one other defensive lineman, a lot of these guys weren't on the 2 deep post-spring. So I think what they end up having to do, guys, between now and when the portal activity ends, is you gotta add some depth. The defense right now only had 2 starters, 3 with Hamilton coming back. So that was going to be a lot of new faces. And then you look at the O-line and you take away, anything with the skill positions, you're going to have to replace 4 offensive linemen. So, yeah, there were going to be changes to begin with. So I don't think the portal has necessarily just taken them down a complete notch or anything. They were already starting over in a lot of areas.
Do you think that even though they've lost some talent, you could see an uptick in the record just because of the way that there might be new chemistry in the team, and Dana was just kind of seemed exhausted at the end of all that?
I do, and the schedule's tough. I mean, they didn't catch any breaks for year one with Willie Fritz, so that's one thing you have to navigate. I think if you do some things you didn't do last year, namely beat Rice in non-conference and possibly put yourself to win the UNLV game as well, and go 2-1 in non-conference. There's some opportunities there. I think this is a 5 to 6 win team in year one, and that's not a knock on Willie. It's to your point. You allude to Dana's last year and the last few months where you go from a high of almost beating Texas to some really just rough showings to end the year, and then you finish 4-8. I think what you'll see the biggest improvement is just the overall look of this team, the discipline, the support that it's going to get, and then you hope by year 2 and certainly in year 3, you're back into postseason talk, bowl talk, and sort of go from there.
How surprising was the Sam Brown departure? I mean, they obviously lost Matthew Golden to Texas pretty early on in the December period, but I don't know. Was there something kind of leading up to that? Was that much of a surprise?
No, not at all. In fact, the last week of the spring, Sam was looking really good out there, and to my knowledge, there wasn't a one moment that he just said, I'm done with it. And I think what happened was when the spring ended and you start having those talks and the kids start evaluating things, he basically thought that, hey, I can go somewhere else. I think NIL, even though people won't say it, that certainly is a huge factor these days. And Kelvin's seeing that on the basketball side and having to retain players that are getting potentially poached. So I think you get a little bit of that, and maybe a guy wanting to go somewhere else. He wasn't recruited or played for this coaching staff, and that's just the way it happened. But yeah, to answer your question, I was a little bit surprised that he did it this late. I thought he might have done it at the end of last season, like Matthew Golden did. But that was sort of a really tough one for them this late in the process.
Joseph, basketball-wise, outside of losing Shed, everything appears to be hunky-dory in the retention department for Kelvin Sampson, and I'm sure that they're not done yet because, there's a lot of guys who still haven't made their decision, but could the offseason have gone any more according to plan than it did?
This was an A for them in the offseason, and we were joking with Kelvin that, the last few years, one of his talking points has been that, hey, we have to replace 4 guys every year, and, we're still in this position. Well, they didn't have to replace 4 guys this year. They actually kept 4 guys, and, the only one they replaced is a big one in Jamal Shed, the All-American point guard. But, yeah, this is going to be a different offseason. They are done roster-wise. They're at 14. They're one over the scholarship limit. And, the way teams are doing it nowadays, that last spot will probably be a combination of NIL money factoring in where, you can help offset some of the scholarship costs. But, they've got no room now to do anything roster-wise. The big pickup was getting Milos Uzan from Oklahoma. He'll be the replacement for Shed at point guard. You get L.J. Cryer back and Dajuan Roberts. Though that was two big deals. And then injury-wise, you get back Terrence Arsenault and JoJo Tugler. So they're in really good shape, and that's the reason I've seen them, 1-2 in the early preseason polls for next year.
Joseph, thank you very much. Great to have you on. Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle on the football, looking back at the first spring with Willie Fritz, and also what Paul just mentioned, Kelvin Sampson, and then also what's going on with the uniforms. Craig's going to get more into that in about an hour, a little bit less than that, as far as some of the uniform reveals, which most people love to look at, talk about, and also discuss. I did see one response from a Houston fan last night, and I don't even remember why it was on my timeline or why I saw it, but it was like, we are red and we are white. We are not Columbia blue.
Yeah, there's always that person, I guess. Kudos to them for being, original, I guess, and not just, I guess having their own thoughts on it. There's always, somebody who's not going to agree necessarily, even with, I think, a pretty no-brainer addition to the lineup. It's an alternate uniform. I think the days of the 1960s and 70s and whatever else are so far gone now that to even try to think that we're even comparing the same things at this point is just not the case. There are very select few teams that can stay as is. Texas is one of those. Penn State is one of those. Ohio State's changed uniforms a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame has alternates galore. There's very few teams who have not had alternate uniforms of some kind and changed their colors to some extent. So, yeah, I think it's a cool look. I think if you're in the Big 12 right now, I think the cooler you can make your uniforms and stand out from the pack, because you're not going to do it like, let's say, just paying players and NIL and putting together a team. I think the better. I think being original and unique and doing things like having an alternate uniform, you can't overdo it. We've seen Oregon overdo it. We've seen others do it not so well, but I think they nailed those uniforms. I think they nailed the tribute to Houston, and I think they did the right thing by basically snubbing their nose at the NFL and saying, all right, we're fighting back, and if you want to keep fighting, we got a bunch of reasons as to why we're not violating any rules here. So good on Chris Pesman and company, and I bet I just hope they do the merchandise rollout right. Just don't rush it, because there is going to be a demand for it, even from non-Houston fans who just like the look of the uniforms. And so just nail that part of it, and you should be good to go, and you should have a nice little windfall coming your way. But I like that they fought back, and I like that it looks like they're going to get their way, and I think it's a unique thing that they can roll out once, maybe twice, but no more than that each year.
Yeah, I think you got to limit it a little bit. In some places have, like you said, multiple different color schemes, etc. And there was this point where some now come out with this all black. Baylor had theirs, of course, which has always been kind of a lightning rod topic. West Virginia, when Craig does that at 5, man, they look salty and smooth to me, very clean and also clear. Garrett, you could show the 3 coaches. Baylor's got much more on their staff. Of course, they've lost a lot of players or coaches because of Scott Drew. Jake is now at Florida Atlantic, among others. Bill Peterson's gone. Alvin Brooks, the third, is now at Kentucky. Bill Armstrong, as Grayson mentioned, from Link Academy High School, was on the staff at LSU. He's been at Ole Miss. He's now on the staff. Steve Henson, a former K-State Wildcat player, nearly a decade at UTSA as a head coach. And then Tweety Carter, who Paul will have at around 5:30 today. He was the guy that kind of got things started back in the late 2000s when they started to show they could be more than just a cute little story.
I asked him about it.
He gets promoted.
He kind of laughed about it in the interview, but I honestly do think that they need to send Tweety back on his world tour. I mean, his passport is up to date. We know that. And just go like, all right, go find us somebody from Lithuania. Knock yourself out. Because he knows all that stuff. He even said that the basketball world is surprisingly small. And that that's very true in that if you just sit down with Coach Drew for 5 minutes and he'll say, and you'll ask him a question, he'll be like, I was talking to Charles Barkley about that. And you're like, I guess you do know him, where was at Dickie V's dinner? And I was sitting next to Magic Johnson and he said this. And you're like, oh yeah, it is a small world. So.
Yeah. You sometimes see those who are tweeting at him a little bit when it comes to social media. By the way, Jared Nunes, obviously still on the staff among others who were already on that men's basketball staff, but those are 3 of the announcements from earlier today, including the promotion for Tweety Carter, the hiring of Armstrong, and also of Steve Henson. When we come back, Amanda Kristovich will join us, Front Office Sports. This is 365 Sports. It's a new month. There will be new incentives and new offers and discounts for you with CEO, General Manager Ted Teague at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. The car that I bought back in the summer of 2020, I bought an extended warranty because it was pre-owned. And I've managed in a couple of different times in the last, 4 years, it has come to be a big deal. I'm running up against the clock when it comes to the amount of miles I can put on that car, the Ford Explorer, before my warranty runs out. And so I was today on the phone with Rolando trying to get myself a new warranty and extension to take care of what maybe the next couple of years driving that car to kind of offset anything that might happen along the way. Thanks to Leslie for helping me out with that. Thanks again to Rolando for helping me out with that. I'm about to sign the papers to get Mopar an extended warranty. So yes, they have brand new vehicles on the lot. Of sport, they have the Ram trucks. They have what you need when it comes to a Jeep and more. But they also have all the other stuff. A financing department that can help you out, service department that is fantastic, and salespeople that can help you get what you want and make sure it's what you want to pay to be comfortable driving your new vehicle or pre-owned. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. TexasBeefHouse.com marketing director had an incredible online auction, live auction, of course, in the month of April. There'll be another one just around the corner. But May, people start to get out on the grills. The weather's cleared up. You got a special throughout and some ideas for the month of May.
So May, we consider May, June, and July as grilling month. We've got our jalapeno and cheese patties, our regular Wagyu hamburger patties, our garlic links. 2 things that people aren't usually familiar with are our flat steak and flank steak. Those are a large piece of meat that you can cut up and eat with a fajita, or a lot of people will just cut it up and eat like a normal steak. This is our favorite time of the year because it's the perfect weather to get outside and get that grill going.
In the end, did you guys have another great auction? Did it all go well?
We had another fun auction. We had Wagyu brisket at this auction. It was phenomenal. We had so many customers that were so excited. They've given us their feedback on Facebook. We've got a lot of exciting things coming with a new platform that we've got going called Bid on Beef that we'll be releasing in the next couple of months. We're really excited about what the future holds for us.
TexasBeefHouse.com. No hormones, no antibiotics, no steroids, premium grade East Texas beef from their pasture to your plate. They'll deliver it to you locally. They bring it directly to your door. Farm-raised Wagyu beef. May grilling month, May, June, and July, and there's not a better place to find what you want to put on the grill, whether it's hamburgers, flank, or flap steak. Samantha, there's always that code to get a discount.
Yes, absolutely. Use the code SICK'EM10, SICK'EM10, and get 10% off your order of $100 or more.
TexasBeefHouse.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Our good friend Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jewelers here at 365 Sports. Now, Brad, people who watch and listen to our show know I'm a double-time customer for you, engagement ring and wedding band, and you guys do that great, but that's not all you do at Boozer's Jewelers.
Absolutely, and I always like to say, it's a new year. It's a great way to start the year out. Go through your old jewelry. Go through your wife's jewelry box. Go through anything you're maybe not wearing, something that's broken, something that you're not using. We do a massive amount of custom work. We can take your old jewelry, old diamonds, old watches, and we can convert it into something special for you and make a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And if that's not something you're interested in, a great thing is we can turn that into cash. So we buy gold, we buy diamonds, we'll buy Rolex watches, any kind of heirloom jewelry, anything that's maybe passed down to you.
Boozer's Jewelers, where do they find you, Brad?
We're at 1025 North Valley Mills Drive, right on the corner of Lake Air Drive and Valley Mills with the big clock on the corner.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sikkim 365 app is brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Midway through this 4 o'clock hour, got one other note we'll have in a minute. Steve Henson, who's joining Scott Drew's staff at Baylor, about what his reputation was as an assistant at Oklahoma that might perk your interest. Amanda Kristovich joins us, Front Office Sports, here on 365 Sports. I love your response. Last night, a lot of those stories, as you know, Amanda, came out about the possibility of other options when it comes to college athletics and revenue and all. And your never ceases to amaze me, you tweeted, how much NCAA and top conferences are twisting themselves in the nuts, admitting that they know they should pay the players, but trying to keep them from being employees. Your thoughts about that reaction?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the main story about the business of college sports to me. Like it is the number one trend. It's the guiding light for all of the, richest conferences in NCAA, in my opinion, and based on my reporting, that they have all conceded that, they're signing billion-dollar TV contracts. Their athletic departments are raking in 9 figures. They've got to start paying some of the players. They can't pretend that this is amateur sports anymore. But they've created this idea, which really doesn't exist in any other industry, that you can pay somebody for labor, but not call it a job or an internship or a contract job. You know what I mean? Full-time, not full-time, whatever. And it's just incredible to me. It's incredible to me that's where we're at right now.
Amanda, what do you think about the potential for what could happen, and once they make this settlement of them trying to, fairly rapidly, like not before 2025, but even then, like in the next couple of years, completely remake what they're doing?
Well, look, I think that to the administrators, the potential settlement in the House case, which is sort of what sparked all this news, right, would be a complete overhaul. It's not really a complete overhaul to me, though. I think the complete overhaul is whether athletes are designated as employees, because that doesn't just change the fact that you have to pay them. It changes what their rights are. It changes the question of collective bargaining. It changes healthcare, right? So lots of different costs and requirements that the schools have to provide. That's really the overhaul. And I think that that's going to happen at some point in the next 5 years, unless Congress has something to say about it. But I just want to make clear that this House case settlement does not speak to the question of employment status at all. It doesn't address it at all. It's literally just a lot of money, billions of dollars in a settlement, and then billions more dollars in a framework for continued payments directly to players from the power conferences. That's not a revolutionary overhaul. It's just another added benefit.
Amanda, we had Darren Heitner on before and asked him about collective bargaining. There's some people out there, and granted, it's Twitter lawyers, right? So, it's whatever, but they say, hey, no CBA, no deal. And he proposed a different idea of like, hey, a CBA is not exactly maybe what you think it is. It's not like there's no issues to that for the athletes. Do you think a collective bargaining agreement is a must, or do you think that is something that is obviously got to be talked about, but not necessarily a must in future college football or college athletics negotiations?
I mean, I totally agree with Darren that there are downsides for athletes to unionizing and collectively bargaining, but those downsides come with, how well they can negotiate, right? I mean, the history of collective bargaining in this country is like the first contract you bargain for is like usually not very good, because you're going up against quote unquote boss man, right? And boss man is better and more equipped and more experienced in negotiating than your fledgling union. So I definitely agree with that, right? And there are restrictions that the pro athletes have to deal with, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, I don't see how we go forward without collective bargaining, just based on the way that the antitrust laws work in this country. I mean, you can't have, these caps on payments. They're not legal. And that's why the NCAA is losing all these cases in court. The only way to make them legal is to give an entity some sort of antitrust exemption. And the only way to get that is to collectively bargain. There's no antitrust exemptions in pro sports without unions where the players and the teams and owners agree to salary caps, agree to when they can and can't practice, when they can and can't play. So, agree to the terms of free agency, which is a big issue for the coaches. That's all they could talk about is unrestricted free agency. But then, some of them are pro collective bargaining, but some of them turn around and say, well, we don't want the kids to be employees, but we're upset about the fact that they can transfer whenever, wherever. Well, the way you fix that is collective bargaining.
So with everything right now, NCAA losing one lawsuit after another, and with everything right now almost pro-athlete, that doesn't mean it's perfect, but, man, everything that has changed in the last, Amanda, 3 to 4 years has been in favor of the student-athlete. Why would they give up any of that now?
Like, why would they
ever agree to anything that's a restriction at all? Why would they do that?
Well, there's no one agreeing to anything for them. That is the problem. I mean, all these changes are coming from court cases that all these decisions are being made by federal judges and the National Labor Relations Board. So I think the problem is that we can argue, and it's like I spent all afternoon arguing, not all afternoon, but like a decent amount of the afternoon arguing on Twitter with people who, were repeating the NCAA talking points of the sky is falling and women's sports are going to die and Olympic sports are going to die. And don't you care about women's sports, Amanda? It's like, yeah, I care about women's sports. Okay. The issue is the athletes have no voice either way. They could, sure, the NCAA could impose some sort of restriction and they could refuse to play, but they've never done that. There was a movie that came where that theoretically happened, in a movie a couple of years ago, but it's never really happened in real life, for NCAA athletes. So they don't really have a say. Even the things that are going in their favor are not really things that they themselves are doing, with the exception, I will say, of the Dartmouth men's basketball unionization effort. That's player-led.
Yeah. I mean, it would seem, though, that unionization for all athletes across all sports would be a very large undertaking. And again, we're probably a decade away from that being a reality, given all the hoops they have to jump through. So how in the short term do they make it to where there can be a little bit less chaos for them too?
Well, I've seen some proposals by, real lawyers, right? Who also happen to be on Twitter, but they're real lawyers who've, suggested this idea of sports specific unions. Or, so there's a FBS Football Players Union. And if you want to unionize, if you're a football player, you can unionize your team and you can add yourself to a chapter. Like you can become, right? That's actually how unionization works in journalism, right? Like they're on the West Coast and the East Coast, there are a couple different organizations. And if your newsroom wants to unionize, you can join that sort of national entity, the News Guild, the Writers Guild of America, right? So like that was a proposal by a couple really smart sports lawyers. And theoretically, you could expand that to different sports to just say like, we're not going to force any players who don't want to unionize. The option's there if they want it. But I definitely think that it makes no sense to try to unionize all the players in all the sports, you know, even just like in Division I. That makes no sense because they all want different things. They all have competing interests, and that's already what's part of like creating the problem now. So I think you have to start with the sort of power conference players in the sports that make the most money, because that's where their economic rights are being restricted the most. And then you sort of see how that model goes from there. There's nothing that says you have to unionize every single athlete in Division I just because some of them are. You know, it's the opportunity to unionize that they get, not the guarantee that they're going to.
Amanda, if you don't mind, I want to change subjects and ask you about the Florida State ACC lawsuit, the ongoing trials and tribulations out there on the East Coast. And I know there was, the last judge said that he wanted to see the parties go to mediation. And then I guess today there was a 60-day extension in order to find a mediator. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. But as somebody who's been following this, and I've been following it somewhat closely, but I definitely don't know all the ins and outs. Where would you sort of describe where we are right now with the ACC, FSU, so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm asking the question of the now 5 lawsuits that are related to this, right? Because the 5th one is, it's just a public records request lawsuit by the Florida Attorney General.
Right.
To reveal ESPN's media contract, which ESPN and the ACC hold are trade secrets, right? So that's going to be a fun little politically charged battle.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, all of these cases are kind of proceeding through this motion to dismiss question, with the exception of, I believe, ACC v. FSU, where the judge said, no, we're going to go forward with this. So it's kind of like this combination, as you said, of motions to dismiss, whether or not those are going to work in all these lawsuits, and then at the same time, some sort of mediation. Personally, I don't see how mediation works unless they're mediating an exit from the conference. And FSU has said they want to leave the conference, but as far as we all know, they haven't received an invitation to go anywhere else. Clemson has said they don't want to leave the conference. They just want to explore. So I don't really, I'm not sure where that's going to go, frankly. But we're in the very, very early stages, I think, is the most important thing to remember of all these lawsuits. Like, unless there is some sort of magic settlement, which I don't think there is, because all these sides have taken a pretty hard stance. This could take at least another calendar year, at least, the entire 2024-2025 academic year, and football season, basketball season is probably going to continue. These lawsuits are going to continue during that. Again, unless there's some sort of consensus that everybody comes to, but I don't even know what that would be about.
Last thing is, if you we talked about the timing of you getting into the business and all of these legal things going on. So what would have happened had you been a sports attorney? I mean, can you imagine?
I would have been making so much more.
I was going to say, add a couple zeros, right?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Billable hours. I mean, look, I've got a lot of friends. I went to Georgetown for undergrad, right? So I got a lot of friends who are lawyers, a lot of whom work in the corporate world. And sometimes they say, yeah, I have friends in the sports, the sports law desk or the media M&A, whatever, and they like read the front office sports newsletter and they read, I made fun of a big fancy firm that I have a friend at in my ACC FSU story a couple weeks ago because ESPN has hired them, to argue about hiding their terms and hiding their media contracts. So that's been fun. But look, the sports lawyers are even busier than I am. So I think that's the answer.
It's crazy. We appreciate your time and also your knowledge on it. Amanda Kristovich with us, front office sports with us. She's been with us now on the show. This is the third time, and every time it's been very enlightening and informative from front office sports. Around the corner, Craig looks into uniform reveals and his thoughts about them and yours too. Also, Garrett Ross running the mothership and Jack McKenzie here. Also behind the scenes, but always right front and center with what we bring to you every day on 365 Sports, not just those of us who are on the screen like Craig and Paul and myself. Yep, Craig?
Paul very tired and stretching on screen
I know.
right
Sorry,
now.
my neck. I gotta.
Want me to give you a massage?
Yeah,
I'm not going to do
please.
it. Not going to do it.
No. I mean, look, I asked Jack earlier, and he said massage this, and then gave me the bird. So, yeah.
Sounds like Jack.
Yeah.
No nonsense, man.
And then before I could say Garrett, he was like, no.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Did you have something to add, Craig? Story, or is that just part of the uniform deal there?
No,
I thought you had a story.
I was just mentioning Paul.
Like
That's
trying
all I mentioned.
to crack my neck.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore. Craig, when he does his, no matter which, and I'm jealous of that because it just sounds like it's such a relief of a neck that's a little bit uptight. All right, Garrett, did you get the quote I sent you?
Yes, I have it.
Here is a quote on Steve Henson, who's a part of the Scott Drew staff, who has been at UTSA, fired after what has been, I think it was 8th or 9th year as their head coach. But he, before that, was at the University of Oklahoma. In 2016, before he became the UTSA head coach, Steve Henson was John Jacobs, the most highly regarded offensive-minded Big 12 assistant coach. That's from somebody in the business who's been in the business of coaching searches, who sent that to me on the announcement Steve Henson has joined Scott Drew's staff. And, of course, you'd love to see John Jacobs still on staff, but he got a nice opportunity as now the head coach.
Yeah.
Did you see where Okiki is on?
Okiki, yeah.
Obim
Okiki
Okiki is now on the staff with Coach Jacobs,
Two
too.
sports star, Obim Okiki.
He was?
He played football and basketball. But, yeah, he's on the staff at Florida Atlantic. And I wonder how long Coach Jacobs will be there. Like, he might stay a little while, but
he needs to win a game first.
Yeah, he needs to win but
I know what you're saying, though, he's had the job for less than a month, and he is a rising star, though.
Yeah,
he's probably not long.
I wonder how
for
long,
Boca Raton.
But again, that's a program now that can double down on basketball. More
they
so
were
than
just
before.
in the
they're just a Final Four. So they can keep somebody, or they can not. Like, they didn't seem to worry about it when Dusty May left.
I guess if he wants to come back to the Big 12 and be like one of 9 teams that are all on the same level and have that same path, and that's cool for him. But I think Florida Atlantic has proven they've got a path that they can take that can get them pretty deep into the tournament. So I think he's going to be great. I hesitate to start speculating on the next job already when he barely recruited a team yet, but he is from every indication like the next big thing in this Scott Drew coaching tree and then the assistant coaching circles around college basketball. He's been long talked about as eventually making this move. So, I think he'll do really well for himself. I guess we'll go ahead and just close out the hour here. But
I got a couple of things, too.
I wanted to make mention just from John Not Wilner out on the West Coast, Canzano. He reported that, I guess on his Substack, that Oregon State and Washington State have finalized or are finalizing their TV deals for next season, and they will end up with a number of games on the CW, which was always going to be the case, but there will also be 3 games on the Fox. On Fox. So I guess you could put 2 and 2 together and figure that Oregon State and Washington State would probably be one of those games.
Yeah.
That just seems like a pretty safe bet. You've also got, Wazoo plays Texas Tech, I think. That seems like it might be a safe bet for a game as well. And I don't know what the other one might be. I don't have their schedules memorized off the top of my head, but that's obviously significant news for those two schools to have something, now all getting finalized and kind of know what the lay of the land's going to be. Civil War will be on Fox, he says. So that game will be one of those. CW will get 10 games. Fox owns 3 games. And that's as far as I can go without, I'm not subscribing. So that's as far as I can. And that's really all we need to know. Just good for those schools. I'm not one of those that's like, they're the victims in every way, shape, and form, and we've got to worry about them all the time. You know what I mean? I get their cause and their plight and everything like that, and I do feel for them, and I know they get tired, some people, of hearing how you feel bad for them. So I try not to say that too often, although I do. But I do want them to have opportunities and to have a stage and to have the ability to continue on and be strong programs. And so this is big to just get this part of the TV broadcast finalized. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal for everybody else who's sort of settled in, but for them it is a big deal.
No,
so
it is.
10 games on CW, 3 games on Fox, including Civil War.
For those who say,
or not Civil War, but Oregon State, Washington State. Sorry.
Yeah, the heck with them and all. There are how many teams in the Big 12 who have been left behind when other conferences have been formed? Of the 16 teams, TCU, Houston, right?
Well, all of them, except for BYU, technically.
Well, the schools that were already a part of the
Houston,
Big 12
I guess
they were a part of the growth.
They got left behind by Texas and Oklahoma,
Cincinnati
and A&M,
got
Missouri, and Nebraska.
No. I think maybe I need to explain that better, and I might not have. Baylor, Texas Tech, K-State, all those schools, Oklahoma State, weren't left behind from another conference when it was formed.
Right.
TCU and Houston were. They were left out of the Southwest Conference when the Big 12 formed. Obviously, there have been others, but it's one thing. It's just, there's more teams than you think that have kind of been left out. But, yeah, when Texas and Oklahoma left, there were 8 other schools who were like, wait, what are we going to do?
I feel like they felt left behind.
Yeah.
Not necessarily expecting to go to the SEC or anything, but I definitely think they felt like they got left. And so that's why I put them in that category. And so, yeah, everybody's dealt with it, whether it was the Big 12 or not. So I think there's that common bond between all of them. At the same time, I know that I didn't necessarily see a lot of Oregon State and Washington State fans crying for those schools whenever the shoe was on the other foot. And that's why I take my sympathy only so far, and I don't sit there and wallow in it when it comes to that, because for all we know, that could be some other schools here pretty soon. We don't have any clue, a crystal ball into what all this looks like. I think that's like the scare tactic, and that's like the extreme is like you're going to be left behind. I think that gets very dramatic, and it probably comes down to the sources. But, I think there's a mutual respect between those two, and a lot of schools in the Big 12 are like, yeah, we've been there, we get it, or close to it. And so you do have a little bit of sympathy, but they've got a TV deal now that's all set up and official, it looks like. So that's a big step forward for them. And beyond that, who the hell knows? But for right now, that's what you have to worry about, because you can't get to 2-3 years from now if you don't get this, next few months settled. So that's good.
Not sure if anyone's been paying attention to some of the recruiting, because there's so many other stories. But Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham, who we hope to have on at some point next week, the head coach, have had a nice little run when it comes to recruiting, and see with Chris Cartman putting up a lot of what they've gotten at the portal and or high school. Yeah, high school. And then this is a Twitter post. Brent Brennan, the new coach at Arizona, was talking to some Arizona fans. Every venue we play in the Big 12 kicks ass. Their fans care. We need you all juiced, gassed up, ready to go, so the Arizona Stadium is the hardest place to play at in the Big 12. That's something we've heard from analysts of schools on their way in, no matter how much they didn't want to leave the Pac-12 or see that dissolved. But that is the case about no matter what you think of the player or the teams in the Big 12 outside of Texas and Oklahoma, everybody has a passion for college football, and they damn sure do care.
Well, they definitely have more of an overall passion than the Pac did. I don't think that's even debatable. I think that's just common sense. absolutely, that's going to be a huge difference for those schools. I do think you might still.
It's why one conference exists and the other one doesn't. Honestly, like at the core of it, that's why. I think.
Yeah. And so I think there is a chance that I don't know if a certain team over here starts off slow, you might still see an empty stadium or one that's not really filled. But that's not going to be a sign of a lack of passion. Generally, it'll be a sign of a lack of passion for a certain coaching staff and certain results in an era that we're in right now. And that could be the case at a couple of other places too. But yes, generally speaking, you go to Ames and you go to Lubbock and Stillwater and so on and so forth, and especially when they've got good teams and are in the fight, so to speak. It's going to be, I think, a world of difference from a lot of the TV shots that we've seen over the years with, trips to Cal and the like, that aren't because of a coaching thing or because of just like in general the apathy for. We heard it all the time during realignment. We'd be talking about the passion of Big 12 fans, and there'd be like Pac-12 fan that says, well, dude, it's I don't want to pretend to be a surfer, but I was thinking surfing on the brain of like, well, it's nice outside on a Saturday. We're not going to go to a college football stadium. We're going to go surfing. And it's like, I get that. I totally get that. If I lived out there, I'd probably be that same way. But that's also not an argument for you. That's an argument against you because there are fans here, whether you look down on them or not. Also a reason why you're basically dead at this point as a conference is the arrogant part of it. But yeah, there are fans that care and are extremely passionate, and I think that will definitely resonate and be something cool for those new schools that are rolling into town.
We do have Craig's segment here in just a second. Go ahead.
I just have a story I want to talk about because it only needs like 5 minutes of talking, but it's LSU related, so I thought Garrett would be interested.
What about them?
Well, it's about one of their former players who's a huge star. We haven't talked about this. Odell Beckham Jr. signed a contract with the Dolphins today. And the only reason I bring that up is it's the best news economically to hit the South Beach strip clubs since fake breasts.
Oh, yes.
Like, honestly, like I don't think I can pair a city and a human being more than Odell Beckham in Miami, Florida.
You know what's crazy? When you brought that up, I was like, okay, because – yeah, he can still play, but it's like it just to me was like a tree falling in the forest. But Garrett, that's one of your guys.
Man, I like him. I don't know if the passion is there anymore, and I don't think it's really been there in probably about 4 or 5 years.
Since he hurt his knee in the Super Bowl,
man. Like
I think he's still. I mean, I don't like talking about guys I don't know at all,
Yeah,
but I do
exactly
think there is there's like this need to still be famous and still be making the money you're making.
Is it like pro sports FOMO because they make great money? Is it that? Or there's nothing wrong with wanting to.
I think it's fame.
It's the roar of the crowd, the camaraderie, the locker
I'm sure
room.
like he's a competitive dude. There's always that too. Like I don't think you hear all the time about pro athletes once they're done. It's not a fun world on the other side awaiting them necessarily, and a lot of them aren't prepared for it. But I do think for Odell, he likes the fame and attention, and I definitely think that he's going to embrace that fully with Miami, and is probably not ready to quite let all that go just yet, even though he's not the same player that he was. But, he'll make a play here and there and go crazy, and the fans will go nuts, and, we'll see. It's an interesting target for Tua.
Sucked, though, that he was a pending free agent when he hurt his knee, and that's always just a By the way, R.J. Martinez, who left Baylor, entered the portal, is committed to Texas State down in San Marcos to be a part of their roster.
That's more his speed, I think. That's a nice fit with G.J. Kinney, and I think offensively he'll be able to blend right in and know what the job entails and the offense entails down there. So yeah, I like that pickup for them. They obviously had the whole to do with
Deloria?
Jaden Delora.
Yeah, I had Rashada stuck in my head, but Jaden Delora. It's not Deloria, it's Delora. But yeah, they had that whole situation, and so I think that'll be a nice spot for R.J. Martinez, learning under G.J. Kinney.
Didn't take long. By the way, remember the story earlier this week when I brought up the Arena League, the Football League, and how they weren't getting hotel rooms paid for when a team left for a road trip? That it's a one-way ticket. The Iowa Barnstormers have shut it down. Basically, again, pointing the finger at the person who's running the league, that they were given promises after promises after promises, and they have shut down their team.
Well, they're one of the ones with the most famous alums.
Kurt Warner, right?
Kurt Warner played for the Iowa Barnstormers, so,
I always thought it was interesting. I saw their helmets with the goggles, the aviator. That was a interesting look. I was a fan of uniforms, which we're about to get into, but not like fanatical about it, like getting into the stitching and things like that. But I just thought that uniform changes are always cool. When I saw their helmets for the first time, I was like, wow, that's really creative, the way they did the pilot goggles on the helmets. And yeah, that's Kurt Warner's old stomping grounds. And at the same time, those arena stories, like I said the other day, is like there's a lot of old players that were like, what are y'all complaining about? This is exactly the way that it was 20 years ago when we were playing here. But clearly they're not being managed very well as a league. And so, yeah, that's surely a sign of not good things to come if a franchise like that is shutting down. And with all these spring leagues now, I don't know really what capacity or level of interest there is for arena football at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
all these spring leagues that I see, with all due respect, I hope the kids get the money, get a chance to be seen, but I don't trust any of them. I just don't care if Rock or whoever's involved. They all just seem to more likely fold or just disappear than anything else.
The UFL has the best shot because the networks own part of it. So
well, yeah, if they're on TV, that gives them a shot.
They have a vested interest in making it work, although...
Well, that's all there really is now, guys. Yeah. It's the UFL. It's the USFL and the XFL came together. That's what it is. Yeah. So, that went from 2 leagues to 1 league, and that's the league, the main league. But, yeah, there's others that have been around or are around technically. But, yeah, the UFL is basically the offshoot now, although the NFL doesn't, treat it under its own umbrella. It's about as close as we're probably going to get with something like that, I would think, just given the stakeholders and the people in charge. I don't know how you could do it up any bigger than what they've attempted to do. So if that doesn't catch on or hang around or last, then I think we finally get our answer to, could this ever really work in the true sense of a minor league and pro football? And so we'll see. There's still some question marks there.
By the way, Cody Campbell, who is very much involved in Texas Tech athletics, NIL, and also he's a part of the board. He's going to join us on Monday. He'll be a part of the show on Monday to kind of give us his perspective from that point of view with things and how they are both with Tech and the stadium, the renovation. You can watch it. It's great with what they're about to do to encompass the whole thing. It's a big old huge bowl. They've done a great job with that remodel, just like over Baylor with what they've done with the Fudge family football operations center and the indoor people, KU, and golly. I just saw when Northwestern's stadium is like basically gone because they're renovating that one, going to play in that other facility for this next year. Just so much to do. We're going to talk to him. He'll be on the show Monday. I think it's at 4 o'clock. When we come back, Craig Smoak and his thoughts about some of the new uniform reveals or the changes or options.
And not so much my thoughts, but just throwing them out there and taking a look at it and just kind of explaining some of the reasoning behind these uniform changes. Iowa State, West Virginia, and we've talked already about Houston, but let's take a look at that coming up next here on 365 Sports. Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people that you can count on. As I tell you every time we talk about the good folks at Richard Carr, I say that from experience because I've counted on them more than a couple of occasions to get some body work done on my vehicle and to just make sure that my vehicle is running in tip-top shape. If you need some body work, you need some tires, you need simply an oil change. They can take care of that for you over at Richard Carr. If you're looking to get into a pre-owned vehicle, they can take care of that for you over at Richard Carr. If you're looking to get into a brand new vehicle, they can definitely take care of you over at Richard Carr. If you need space for your entire crew as we start to get closer to the summer months, big vacation time for a lot of people out there across this country, well, the Buick Enclave offers the quiet drive that you're looking for, loaded with the space-age technology that you're looking for. If you need space for your entire crew and space-age technology, then you need a Buick Enclave, as the Buick delivers uncommon luxury at a common price. Come experience the Buick Enclave and the rest of the lineup today over at Richard Carr and take a test drive. Right now, the Buick Envision, you can save thousands on the Envision models, but it saves $6,000 in particular on the Buick Enclave, plus an additional $500 if you're military or first responder. They have more details on all the bells, whistles, and savings that can be yours, but just on the surface, $6,000 right now can be saved on the Buick Enclave, brand new models over at Richard Carr, and they also have a lot full of quality pre-owned cars and trucks for you as well. 90 highly inspected used cars and trucks awaiting you to come and check them out and see if one of them is the one that you want to be driving for the future. They have 100% credit approval as a goal every time that they get into negotiations and selling cars, they want to always make sure that they can give you that credit approval, and they say yes when others say no. So go check out the friendly folks over at Richard Carr, who have been in business now for 25 years in Central Texas and have built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
It is time to announce the 14th annual Academic All-Stars team right here on 365 Sports. Hi, this is David Smoak. Our 20 Academic All-Stars have an overall grade point average of 103.2. 5 members are headed to a military academy. There are 6 valedictorians and 2 salutatorians. Our 2024 Academic All-Stars team includes Ryder Bagley from Groesbeck, Chilton's Colton Bossy, West Cole Bryant, Casey Cavanaugh from Troy, Lorena's Emily Flores, Whitney's J.C. Green, Franklin's Sarah Heisler, Academy's Madeline Hammonds, Waco High's Alexis Hookham, Kate Humphreys from Clifton, Marshall Cobb of Midway, Temple's Claire Little, Salado's Case Magin, Houston Powers of Crawford, and Thorndale's Emily Reeves, Landon Richardson of Lampasas, Milford Shimon Rogers Jr., Brady Schultz of Abbott, March Monty Swainer, and Avery Thaler from Fairfield. The 2024 Academic All-Stars team is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Westdale Asset Management, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ray Broker, Air Conditioning and Heating, HEB, Award Specialties, Healer Printing, Wolf Florist, Baylor Club, and the Waco Foundation. We will honor the 14th annual Academic All-Stars team at our annual banquet, Wednesday, May 15th at the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium. We're proud to recognize these elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, our 14th annual Academic All-Stars team, right here on 365 Sports.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Thank you for calling your local Marco's Pizza. We're turning up the heat with our new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Fresh, house-made dough is topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers. At only $5.99, this limited-time product is a hot deal. Add it to your order while you can. A Marco's team member will be with you shortly.
Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, and that offer on the Reaper Cheesy Bread is available right now at any of the 5 Marco's Pizza locations in Waco, including Belmead, China Spring, Robinson, Woodway, and Hewitt. Order online at marcos.com. Call for a pickup or delivery. Marco's Pizza is turning up the heat with their all-new Reaper Cheesy Bread with fresh, hot, house-made dough topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers, and only $5.99 and for a limited time only. Marco's Pizza, the fastest-growing pizza brand in America. 5 locations in Waco, and the new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Take it away, Craig.
All right, welcome back into 365 Sports on this Friday, less than an hour to go, and we're going to talk a little bit of uniforms here. I thought it'd be nice to just change it up from kind of the same old stuff and throw a little wrinkle in when it comes to uniforms, because that's not something that we talk much about, and there's been enough news here of late, I think, just to fill a good 10 minutes or so when it comes to a couple of Big 12 schools that have made notable debuts of their new threads, Iowa State and West Virginia. I did want to make mention, though, we've already talked pretty at length, I would say, about Houston's decision to buck the NFL and roll forward with their Oiler tribute uniforms. And we talked to Joseph Duarte about that a little bit as well. And that was the main question I had for him, was about whether they were going to sell merchandise. Because to me, that's the whole key is I bet Garrett will buy.
I'm loading up.
Yeah, you'll buy a hat or something. And I think a lot of other people who aren't even necessarily Houston Cougar fans will as well. And so I think that from a merchandising standpoint, they should really take their time and nail that if they're going to put that out to the public. But what Joseph, I don't think he brought this up, but it was from his original article, is that the talk around Houston is apparently that they're going to spread that around beyond football. So maybe you see some basketball with some Love You Blue looking color. They have a Houston blue or whatever they're going to.
Screw blue. That's
Screw blue. that would work as well. So the fact that it could be used by some other programs, I thought was just interesting. And so we'll see how they follow through with that. But let's start off with Iowa State here, I believe is what I told you to go first. Here are the new threads for Iowa State football that were released this week. And I think there is a tremendous website out there that I'm going to lean on heavily that knows all of like the deep details. Now, the schools themselves typically roll out their press releases and they give you an in-depth look. I've seen where like some schools, I forget who it was a couple years ago, they had like a full-blown video with the Nike advisors, and like you can really go as deep as you want to into this. But I think Paul Lucas at UniWatch does like the best job of anybody when it comes to like nerding out on sports uniforms and noticing every little thing. And so here's Iowa State. These are what they're going to be rocking moving forward. And I'm going to lean on him to just kind of highlight some of what's different because I see it immediately. They look a little bit different, but there are some similarities. But you've got cardinal white and black jerseys. Also, there are 3 helmets, cardinal, white, and black. But the white helmet will actually have multiple logo options, so they can even change that up if they want to. And then they've got 4 pant colors. I don't think you see the gold in there, do you? No. But they will have cardinal, white, black, and gold. So there's going to be a lot of options for Iowa State when it comes to uniforms. You got different logos and all that jazz. One thing noticeable was those sleeve stripes, which I think sleeve stripes look really good. I think they really can make a uniform pop. They have not had those on their uniforms since 2017, so that is one of the new wrinkles to those uniforms. Also, on the front, it says Iowa State across the front, right? That is a new addition as well. That is something that was on uniforms previously, but not here lately. So they have added Iowa State back to the front chest there. And he made note of the gold pants that aren't shown here that he reports are a part of the overall threads that allegedly Matt Campbell was not really a fan of those. But I think of Iowa State, and I do think of gold pants. Like, I picture that in my head. I watched Seneca Wallace running around like 30 years ago in gold pants. They also have kept the logo there opposite the Nike swoosh, I think it is in these pictures. Let me draw in closer. No, it actually is above the Nike swoosh. Those vertical stripes, do you know what those are? That
vertical stripes?
No, the logo on their jersey. Do you know what those vertical stripes are? The little patch above the Nike swoosh? You're not looking. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm looking at the screen right now. No, I don't know.
You don't see. It's hard to see from where we're sitting.
It's like a cyclone claw scratch?
No, it is the Jack Trice stripes. If you look back at the old uniforms that Iowa State wore, you've seen that on their uniforms here lately. Like those are not. That's not a brand new logo. That's been around a little bit now, but they are keeping those, I guess is the point, while other changes are being made. So those Jack Trice stripes, that little vertical, almost Pentagon-looking logo, that is a nod to the uniforms that they wore. If you look back at a picture of him, they have those stripes on the jersey. So there you go. Those are the new Iowa State uniforms. I think they look pretty sharp. They have an all black like a lot of other teams do. I don't love the the white necessarily. Like it's probably my least favorite, but I can see where some people would love it. And I think they're far better than the uniforms they've been wearing, which seemed like USC light. When I initially saw them, I was never a huge fan of what they had been wearing. This feels more like old school Iowa State. This feels more like a blending of the old and the new.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the shoulder stripes look really sharp, and definitely I'm a fan of those, and I think those make them pop in a much bigger way than the threads we've been seeing here lately. So overall, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for Iowa State's new uniforms.
I'll say Iowa State's thumbs way up. That black and white combo over there on the right.
You like that one a lot.
I do like that one. It looks, look, it's not their colors, but as far as alternate uniforms go.
Okay, but that's
there it
kind
is.
of the catch.
Again, sometimes it makes no sense to me why people add a black uniform in because it just doesn't, it clashes with their color so much.
Right.
This does not. So, yeah.
I'm okay with, if the fan base is okay and they make money off of it, I just think they can get a little bit whack. Oregon, of course, can do whatever they want.
I think these are really traditional,
but I think
compared to Oregon.
There's nothing there that makes me go, wait a minute. So I think Iowa State gets a thumbs up.
Yeah, no, I think that they're sharp. I think that they did a good job with them. And, there's some differences that may be slight, like those shoulder stripes, but I think they make them pop pretty good. So there is the Iowa State set of uniforms coming up starting next year, and probably for the foreseeable future, those will be the new uniforms. So thumbs up to Iowa State. If you had to pick your favorite, which one would you pick?
In the chat room, thumbs up or thumbs down to the options that Iowa State, the Cyclones, have now with their football uniforms.
Yeah, so we know Houston's going to keep with their Oiler blue tribute, probably wear that once, maybe twice. Iowa State will be rolling those out. And then here over the last day or two, West Virginia also rolled out their all-black uniforms. Now, they had already set up the other uniforms that you will see, the base colors, their main colors. They had already released some glimpses into those previously, but these are their super special edition coal-themed uniforms. Of course, a tribute to the rich coal mining history there in the state of West Virginia, the tradition of miners, and just all of that meaning to the community of West Virginia. So these, to me, without even going into the detail just yet, look sick AF. Like, these look cool as hell to me.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple people, like anything, you're not going to get 100%, especially on social media, that, I don't know, that have a gripe of some sort. I think when everybody's got an all-black uniform for the most part at this stage, even you saw Iowa State's got their all-blacks in the new set as well. Like, everybody pretty much has one, had one, or will have one. These still look cooler than a lot of the other all-black uniforms. Like, these look awesome to me.
I like it because there's only basically two colors, although maybe white, silver, and black. And I love that combination.
I don't think
I've
you really
always enjoyed that combination, no matter what.
I don't even think you have to even – I think white's just an automatic on uniforms, but yeah.
But isn't that silver
That's
stripe
black
in the
and
middle?
silver, yeah.
I
It
love
pops.
that. To me, that pops. It's very well – it all jumps out at you. That's Gary Green, the quarterback. I loved it. When I saw that, that's when I think I sent it to you guys in the group text. I like, this is really nice. It's not like it's just not all thrown together. It makes sense. I love the color base, and I love the way it pops.
Yeah, I think those look awesome. I love silver and black. I think that's a really cool combination, and so those are really nice. And let me get into some details on that, courtesy as well of, again, Paul Lucas and Uniwash. They do a really good job for just fans of uniforms. If you've never stumbled onto that site,
I just sent it to him on the chat.
Like, you're gonna lose your mind when you see that website. You probably, if you're a fan of uniforms, though, you probably already seen it before. But the silver there, that pop of silver, the stripes, the numbers are stripes are reflective, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that silver is a reflective color, and that actually references the safety reflectors located throughout underground coal mines.
Awesome.
So that silver has a purpose to it, and it does pop, and it looks awesome. The school said that they will be worn on select occasions. It didn't specify any dates, but I think that West Virginia, just for an alternate uniform, did about as bang up of a job. And the fact that you also have it, honoring your history of your state and all that, I think is really, really cool. So they've been teasing these uniform changes, and those are their alternates. They also, like I said, they will be worn on special occasions. They also unveiled their base set of uniforms that they will begin wearing this year as well. And these have a lot of different, things going on with them in terms of some of the unique changes to them. But you do have, for the most part, the same colors that you've had, but there are some subtle differences that will be a part of this as well. For example, let's see here, where to have it. You got the blue, gold, and white jerseys and white pants. That will be the regular weekly uniform.
Those on the right?
No, all of these will be the regular blue, yellow, and white.
Okay. I thought you were talking. Yeah, that's the color. Yeah.
They'll be the regular weekly uniforms. They're using the Nike Vapor Fuse chassis to make it sound like the biggest deal in the world. But that's the base uniform and the latest technology that they're using. But here's the big differences on these. The Flying WV logo, which is the main logo that we know West Virginia for, right? That is now on the sleeves again. And it was not. Sleeves really make a difference, I've noticed, with uniforms, because it already looked way better than the uniforms they've been wearing for the last several years. But those WVs on the shoulders, the Flying WV logo, those are back, and they have not had those on the sleeves since 2012. So those were worn a lot during the Don Nehlen era, and then went away in 2013, and they'll have that on all three of the uniforms. The white jersey, according to the school, also, you'll notice on the Navy numbers, there's a yellow outline, which previously didn't have an outline, but I like that too. I think that makes it pop and look really cool. So those are a couple of the differences. Also, the shoulder stripes on the shoulders right there, those are also coming back. They had worn those up until 2012. Those are also,
2012 was when they scored 70 points. Why would they get rid of them?
No, yeah, that's a very fair question to ask. But yeah,
I put stripes all over the thing.
Right. I guess that was a Nike thing, man. I guess that was one of those. But you'll have the shoulder stripes are back on the uniforms as well. I believe that's the first. That was part of it. The gold pants will feature the return of the Nehlen stripes on the pants as well. That's for the first time since 1993. There's also some differences, like West Virginia's across the chest on the white uniform, while Mountaineers will be across on the blue and the gold uniforms. So there's a little bit of a subtle difference there. You'll still have on all three the state outline and the state motto on the inside of the collars, and the collars are a little bit different as well. But the blue pants will also have those Nehlen stripes as well going down the
I
side.
love the white ones. I always thought, again, maybe I'm more – uniforms that are white. I know home and away, et cetera. Like I've always thought those were really, really nice.
Yeah, the white pants, while the blue get those Nehlen stripes, those gold stripes. The white pants have the blue, gold, blue striping, which you can't really see in that picture. But that's a nod back to the 60s, the 70s, and also a little bit of the Rich Rod era. So they're incorporating a lot. Like this wasn't just willy-nilly. They're actually taking into account a lot of different things that occurred over time, including the Rich Rodriguez era. So they had their special numbering and fonts that they've continued to have since 2019. But a lot of these can be matched and worn together. Apparently 9 different pant jersey combinations alone, and they'll have their regular helmet that they've always been wearing. But you'll notice on that white helmet, that is maybe one of the best helmets in college football. It doesn't have the Flying WV logo. It has the really cool state outline with the logo on it that I think are amongst the best uniforms that I saw last year, and certainly one of the best helmets as well. So, those are some of the details on that. You can get a little more deeper into it, but a lot of nods to Don Nehlen, even to Rich Rodriguez, just the coal mining industry, et cetera, and that's what West Virginia will be rocking. So it looks very similar, but there are enough subtle differences that I do think they've updated them into looking better. I think they look better than what they've had here recently, and it's more West Virginia. Like you can tell, it's West Virginia. It's not just some base uni set that Nike just trades off to people, because honest to God, they basically did that with Baylor. Like they basically took West Virginia's uniforms and said, blue is green, and here you go. I mean, that's what it felt like. And so now West Virginia has very much their own identity, and then you add in the black, and I like those. I think they're a definite upgrade on every single set that we see there. I love the white helmet. I think that's one of the coolest helmets in college football. And those all blacks are right up there with the best all black uniforms in the sport right now as well. So there you go.
Right.
Nerding out a little bit on uniforms, but a lot of that was coming down today. And so you got West Virginia and Iowa State with some updates. And looking forward to seeing, any more changes as they come down the pipeline with other schools that are worth talking about. We'll bring this back around, but just wanted to highlight that and talk about something a little bit different today.
All right, some thumbs up from inside the chat room. And let's see here. And that's not about the uniforms, but they might wear the black uniforms, Justin R., in the season opener against Penn State.
Hey,
Ooh, yeah.
Go for it. Go for it. You absolutely do that. That's in Morgantown too, right? So I would think, is there a time set for that yet? I don't know about
Hopefully
that. That was a
not.
night game.
You would hope.
It's got to be. I mean, early seed, like if that's
it was last year.
Remember there was that thought that might be an early week night game, but that never has, at least not that I've seen. Kim Coulter, to me, school's trying to wear black, who, when there's not part of the school colors, like Tech wearing them godforsaken gray uniforms. Everyone has their own, and especially if you went to the school, not a T-shirt fan. Like I'm a Nebraska fan. I went to Stephen F. Austin. But, yeah, if it's something that's in your blood that you don't want to see a non-school color, I get it. I don't know if it's like worth getting upset about, but I get it. I
don't think he's upset either.
Yeah.
I think he's just saying.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't love the Tech all gray. All gray. I mean, West Virginia had all grays. A lot of schools had all grays. They ditched the all grays. Obviously, I should have mentioned that. They're not wearing those anymore. But yeah, there are some of those that I think it's just a trendy thing. Like gray very much became a trendy thing the last few years. So you started to see those as alternates. But you're probably going to see some of that scaled back now, as you already do with West Virginia. But yeah, I mean, there's people that would love to see Texas have a black helmet, and then there's a ton of people who are like, we're killing everybody if that happens. Like, do not mess with tradition. I think there's some stuff you definitely don't mess with, but I think there's room to have fun and be a little bit unique. And all black is just, it's hard to screw up all black. It doesn't matter what school you are. It's really hard to do that wrong. And so I think West Virginia knocked it out of the park.
We do have another guest, Tweety Carter, with Paul from earlier on his promotion on Baylor's Scott Drew staff. Why do I feel, did I not remember that for one game, Sam Ehlinger, when he was at Texas, that they had a black uniform?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so, but for some reason it stuck in my head.
The most they've done is
maybe
change,
it was a practice uniform.
They had practice jerseys.
Yeah,
that were
they had
black.
practice jerseys.
Yeah,
because
they have stuck to their
never
guns.
changed. The only thing they do.
I don't know if USC has ever changed theirs.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah.
They may have a one-off or
Penn
something.
State, I don't know if they've ever changed
But
theirs.
Texas has done like the collar, like the logo that's there. They've changed that up, or the placement of like a patch or something. And, they've had the alternate helmet with the numbers. It's like a nod to the 60s or 70s, I guess.
I hate those.
Yeah. I mean, but that's as far as they've gone, and they've never worn like anything other than white and burnt orange.
I'm good with anyone who wants to make the changes. I think it's great when schools say, no, this is who we are. And you can. Sure. There's certain schools that can just do that. I just mentioned a couple of alphas in USC and Texas, Penn State.
The only reason I hate Florida State's uniforms is that they don't seem to win in them, or they've like when they were doing it back when they weren't good, like the black uniforms.
Well, they weren't good.
Yeah, they weren't good, but they would also pick the worst game to do it. Like, I know they're doing it like, we're gonna wear these when we play Clemson. Ah, shit, no, don't do that. That was my feeling about it.
Like the Cowboys have that blue on the road. Remember, there's it's harder to win on the road.
Well, here's the thing: the NFL just changed their rules, so everybody's gonna have like 4 helmets that want them, and like multiple different combinations that they're going to wear. So I think it's a money-making thing. I do think, though, from a Big 12 perspective, be unique. Like, man, if I had one choice, like make one decision over Baylor, bring back the uniforms that they wore when they were in their glory days. I know that, like, there's this sentiment that, it reminds people of that era, and I totally get that. But, man, it made them so unique and so much cooler than they are right now with the uniforms that they currently wear. And it made them, like, it just made them seem more important, just the look of it. And I know that's probably overdoing it a little bit, but I don't think so. Like, you watch them now, and they're just another team out there. They're just bland, just green and yellow and the pea yellow uniforms. And I was okay with them, but now I think, like, man, embrace that's like you're never going to make as much money as somebody else, but you can be as cool as somebody else with some cool uniforms, and so close the gap where you can.
Winning sure helped.
Well, winning does matter.
And it did make them kind of a talk, and
that
was great.
If they were 0-12 and chrome gold helmets, they would be the laughingstock of college football. You're right, but I do think that was a unique identity. I get why they changed it up when they did, but I'm all for programs that aren't Texas or Penn State to sit there and say, let's live it up a little bit and get creative and have some fun with the uniforms and maybe attract some eyeballs. So West Virginia, I think, accomplished that. I think Iowa State's done a good job, and obviously Houston, got to throw them back in there as well.
And those are just 3. There could be more even to come, although probably by now you would have seen most of those reveals, but there are still a few weeks before we might see maybe a couple of more. When we come back, Tweety Carter, former Baylor star, guard, played a lot overseas. He then was part of Scott Drew's staff recently, and with all the coaching changes, he's now a part of the main core of assistant coaches. Paul Catalina had a chance to visit and catch up with him right about the time it became official that he was now a part of the staff as an official assistant. This is 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
This is 365 Sports. Welcome in our good friend Tweety Carter. And Tweety, let me be, I know I'm not the first, but let me be the first here to call you Coach Tweety. So proud of you moving up on the coaching staff. What is this after, a long career that you played professionally overseas and now coming back, being able to be a coach at your alma mater? What does this all mean to you?
Man, it's an unbelievable blessing. I just want to thank God for this opportunity. And I'm really, really grateful for all the ones before me, and all the things that they have taught me. I'm trying to put it to test now, and do my job the best way I can, and try to serve Baylor the best way I can, and this staff the best way I can. So I'm just truly grateful.
So, I mean, obviously having played for Coach Drew and the staff, most of whom are now head coaches, all the guys you played for, I mean, Matt Driscoll's a head coach, Jerome Tang's a head coach, then most of the guys you've coached with are now head coaches. What have you learned from them about coaching as a coach compared to maybe what you've learned from them as a player?
The biggest difference, I think, when I played for them, I didn't understand what goes into coaching. I didn't understand all the hours that they put in. I didn't understand all the time they spent away from their families. And just to now wear those same shoes, I firsthand wish I would have been a better student of the game for them, because I really feel like I would have learned a lot more. But the blessing is, you get to move on and you get to try to execute those things now in your life. You look back at your life and you just realize that, the people that really, really love you, they're going to try to guide you in the right direction. And sometimes, you don't take that direction well. But as you get older, you start understanding and appreciate a lot more. So just, I just thank a lot of those coaches for just having the patience. It takes a lot of patience to do this job, and I'm really understanding that now. So I'm forever grateful for the relationships I've built with the coaches that left, and now head coaches in other places.
So now you get to do something which, I mean, obviously the whole staff is part of, but there are rules about how many guys can recruit and do different things. But now you are like out there, you got to recruit, you got to help build a roster, and you have to build a roster year to year now. You guys are going through it right now, like transfers and freshmen and all that. What do you think about your experience as being a guy who was very highly recruited will help the staff, because you bring something to it that the rest of the staff doesn't, in that you've been in that position where you've been McDonald's All-American and the guys that like people want to talk to and have to sift through people just, hey, Tweety, come here, Tweety, come here, Tweety, come here. You had to do all of that. How does that give you a unique perspective?
I would say the biggest thing for me is taking what the guys before me have done. All the information that they've shared, trying to help young coaches grow like myself, just taking that and not taking it for granted. And I'm one of those guys that really do look up to a lot of the staff that previously was here. I really do look up to them because I respect the work that they have done, and even more now that I'm a coach. So just really just understanding that and taking what I've learned since I've been on staff here at Baylor, and just being yourself, going in, wanting to recruit, wanting to get to know the families, and things like that. And, I'm really looking forward to doing that and just growing as a coach now, even more. So I'm just blessed to, like I said, to be in this position to call. I can pick up the phone and call any of the coaches. And so I'm just looking forward to being able to do that and ask questions and continue to learn and grow for this program.
I mean, how much does your international background kind of help you out in that Tweety, I don't know if there's a country that you haven't played basketball in.
The best thing about the basketball is very small. So once you get to calling and connecting, you'll realize you run across guys a lot more. And so just, thankful for the relationships I've built. Of course, that makes it a lot easier when you know about a player and you can pick up the phone and reach out to someone to help you out. And so just to be able to have those type of connections through playing basketball, and along with all the connections that our staff have, I'm just looking forward to just being a part of it.
Yeah, I think you and Fran Fraschilla could do a podcast about international basketball. That would be unbelievable if you wanted to.
I would love to do a podcast with Fran. That would be awesome.
Hey, look, if you say, hey, who's the best guy in Lithuania? You'd be like, this is not a good year for Lithuania. But let me tell you about Czechoslovakia. He knows that stuff. He absolutely does.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
So, You've been through a journey, you were here at the beginning, and your group was kind of the one that took, Baylor from, where they were and like, oh man, this could actually be something. To see all this through now, and having been through it, does it feel surreal sometimes to be like, look at this arena, there's national championship banners, there's all these things that have happened, and that really wasn't that long ago. I know it probably feels like a long time ago to you, but it really wasn't.
I'm gonna be honest, all the guys, I know, we went to the Elite Eight for the first time in 50-something years, and, that was a big accomplishment for us. But, all the guys before me that, paved the way, that came there and grind and, gave everything they had for this program, I really appreciated that. And I respect that, and I wanted to carry that torch along with my teammates that I played with. They always wanted to carry that torch, and just to be able to do that, and then now be in these shoes again, to coach and serve this program. I mean, it's just unbelievable blessing. And yes, to see everything around you get built up to where it's at now, in Waco, it's just an unbelievable feeling. And I'm just, like I said, I'm thankful to be a part of it, because I've seen, what Waco was back then, and looking at it now, it's just, God is awesome, and he's really, really working, and I'm just thankful to be in this position to get to carry it on.
So you and two other coaches joining the staff today. Bill Armstrong comes in, and Steve Henson comes in. This is the newest the staff will probably look in a long time, as far as new, not just one assistant leaving, but multiple guys who've gone and taken other opportunities because of what's happened. So what can you tell people about this new look staff?
They bring a lot of energy. Me meeting the guys and getting to know them, they bring a lot of energy to the staff, and they want to be better each and every day. They want to help out as much as they can, and most of the time when you build it, coming to a new surroundings, that's what you want from guys. Kind of like you playing, you want guys with energy. You want guys that care about getting better and not what they do themselves. So I think just by having a conversation with them and meeting them and getting to meet their families and stuff like that, I think it's just an unbelievable feeling, because you bringing in guys that has a lot of energy and that's willing to serve and learn, and we all on the same page with that, and all of us on the staff ready to serve and learn and try to be better each and every day and get our players better each and every day.
Tweety, congratulations. I got to tell you, I've loved this last couple of years you've been back here in Waco, so that when we call you, you're not up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the other side of the globe, just doing us a favor because you're a nice guy. But Coach Tweety Carter, part of the new, he was there last year, but now part of the coaching staff with Steve Henson and Bill Armstrong as well. Tweety, congrats again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
That's Tweety Carter here on 365 Sports.
It's the season to rev up your drive with Alan Samuels with the new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Your ultimate destination for unbeatable deals and top-notch service. Looking for a reliable ride to conquer these beautiful spring days? Look no further. The powerful trucks and sleek sedans are the perfect SUV. We've got the perfect vehicle to match your style and budget. Over 300 new vehicles to choose from. Now's the time to make your move. Enjoy special discounts, low financing rates, and incredible incentives. But hurry, these offers won't last forever. Alan Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Welcome back to 365 Sports. Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. We're going to start doing this every Friday with our new friend, Catherine Caffarelli from FundedSportsTrader.com. She has got just a lot of great crazy bets for us. I say crazy bets, they're good bets. Now, Catherine, before we get started, you told me that you're mostly a football person, right, when it comes to bets. So that means we're going to have a lot of fun come football season, right?
We will have lots of fun, yes.
Yeah. So you've picked some, including lacrosse this week, which I don't think we've ever talked about lacrosse on the show before, but in the gambling segment, variety, this is the best bets, and you have done your research on this kind of on the fly, which makes this totally fun. So, and this is a new segment we're doing. By the way, if you'd like to go to FundedSportsTrader.com and sign up, you can use our promo code 365sports there. But your first bet we're going to talk about is that lacrosse match you're talking about, the Buffalo Bandits plus 1.5. Why the Bandits at plus 1.5?
So, like I told you earlier, and I'm sorry for anyone who's listening, but I do primarily bet on football. Will be a fun football season. However, I just won these 5 bets. We'll see how it works out for me. But this one in particular, a friend of mine, fan of the Bandits, has a friend on the team, and I got to watch it recently, indoor lacrosse, which is cool, whatever. They fight. It's crazy. Kind of very similar to hockey, it felt like. Yeah. But they were on fire. The game that I watched, they were just unstoppable. And this is now, I believe, a playoff. They're in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I have to ride with them. I was going to take the money line, but I'm taking the plus 1.5, which is basically even in my opinion. But yeah, so that's why the Bandits.
When you say plus, and again, one of the things you're going to have to do is, as sports gambling has proliferated, we've had to learn more about it. For a long time as a sports reporter, you either knew everything about it or nothing because you couldn't do it. And look, we're in Texas. We still can't. But our audience is national, so that's why we're doing this. So why, when you say plus 1.5, is that basically even to you?
Because it means that the other team's favored to win by 1.5. Yeah. They just have to cover by 1.5. So 1.5 points. I mean, that means if the other team wins by 1, they still get it, even if they lose. However, the lacrosse is like a high scoring sport. I'm learning. So this is basically even. This is if they win by. If the Bandits win by 1.5 or cover, they're most likely winning the game.
All right. Let's go to number 4. Bruins, over 5.5 total points in this game here. Garrett is our hockey expert here on the set. Look, this is this one I do. I like this one, Garrett, right? The Bruins doing really well right now. But, you know, when you saw this one, what did you think?
Initially looking at this and going off of how everything has gone with the series with Toronto, I'm taking the under personally. I think the Bruins have looked suspect at best. And honestly, losing that game last night, they found themselves in a situation where they could get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, back-to-back seasons, which when you got Marchand and Pakanowski on the team, like it's Swayman guarding the net. What the hell? Like you got it. Like, that's inexcusable in my opinion. So I'm taking the under. Catherine, what do you say?
So I'm taking over 5.5. Again, I'm not the hockey expert here. I'd rather talk about football. However, I cannot believe they let this go to Game 7 at all. I thought they were potentially going to sweep them or get it done in the 5th game. Like, this is kind of crazy for me. But they are back at home. What do they call it? It's the TD Garden, but they call it the barn or whatever. I think they potentially have a lot of scoring power. They can score, I'm hoping 5 points by themselves, and the other team maybe scores 1 or 2. I think that this is a must-win game for them, and they're back home, and they need to go back to what they had in Game 1. That Game 1 spirit is what they need in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. See, there we go. I like it when we have debate. It opens things up. All right, number 3. This one, look, I watched every second of the Knicks and Sixers last night. Jalen Brunson first to score a field goal. Of the list, Catherine, I think this might be one of the safest ones that you could make because this dude is straight up on fire. And if the Knicks win the tip, it's very likely he's going to take the first shot anyway.
Yeah, so I was surprised by this. Obviously, he's the best player on the Knicks, and he's probably going to score first, I would think. But it's a plus 475. Obviously, there's odds that could be way higher, but it's a good payout. Like, I'm not mad at it, and that's why I took it, more for the plus 475.
There you go. Yeah,
and that's on DraftKings, so I know it's probably different others.
But even still, though, I mean, look, like I said, he was – and he has been just on fire. Well, I know you live in that part of the country. I don't know where your loyalties lie when it comes to the NBA, but he's made the Knicks way more fun to watch again.
He's made the Knicks really fun. The whole series was very fun. It was too close for comfort as a New Yorker, but it was fun to watch.
Yeah, I also love, like, even just being when New York and Philly playing anything, it's great. It's just great.
Yeah.
There's so much animosity. It's so awesome. All right, number 2. All right, clicker. There we go. The T-Wolves, under a 2.5 game series spread. Another guy who's red hot and has probably staked his claim to the next kind of king of the league, Anthony Edwards here in the Wolves. They absolutely housed the Suns in the last series. Physically up and down, just looked like a way better team. What's your thoughts on why you took this one here with Anthony Edwards and the Wolves?
So the Nuggets are favored to win the series. However, again, I like the odds here they're plus 650. And just for betting and making money purposes, I decided to go against the Nuggets and take the Denver Wolves.
Well, again, like, a part of it, though, like, yes, the Nuggets won. They've got Joker. They've got all these things. But momentum does play a part in this, right? In the way that they looked in the last series. That plays a part in these things for you, right?
Yeah, of course. And also, it's a 7-game series. So the point to, like, if it was – spread was a little bit different, it would probably be harder to choose not choose this one. But I just think that the minus 2.5 games, like the total series, it's probably it should work out.
Well, yeah, look, if you're going to 7 games, you're going to get this one no matter what. So, yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, all right. And number 1, this is a fun one. The Rangers Hurricanes, total goals in the first period, odd number. So that's a fun one. Garrett, what do you think about this? Like the Rangers, again, this is a great time to be a sports fan in New York City, where the Garden is hopping for both the Rangers and the Knicks. But over under odd number. Garrett, what do you think about that one?
Looking at this over under odd number, so when it's saying it's like total goals is going to be
it's 1 or 3 or 5, 7 maybe.
It's just for the first period.
Yeah,
just for the first period.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I'll take the. Give me the over on that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but odd number. No, just getting an odd number.
An odd number?
So
Give me
just
3.
Odd number.
Give me 3.
Yeah, okay. See, he thinks 3 goals is going to happen. Catherine.
3 goals in the first period?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me 2 for the Rangers and give me 1 for the Canes, but then the Canes are going to get the dub.
I like that we're going to have conflict between you two every week. I like this.
No, I don't know a lot about hockey. I really, really enjoy. I know the basics. I really enjoy watching it. This is why I didn't pick the winner or the spread. I picked this fun bet.
I like it. Period. Yeah, but it is a fun one. It's a nice fun one. Catherine, where can people follow you on social media? And we'll also throw that in the link as well.
Cool. So Instagram, just at Casey316, real simple.
There we go. All right. And we're going to do this every week with Catherine. And look, baseball, like anything you want to throw out there, we'll do it. We'll have fun with it through the spring and the summer. And then when football, look, if you want to do the UFL, we'll do that too. Like whatever you want to do, we're going to have fun with this. And again, part of the, I got to move back into frame. Thanks. Sorry there, Garrett. I get excited. Catherine, you're Italian like me. We move when we talk. We can't just be stationary. We gotta be animated. So, again, thanks to Funded Sports Trader for setting this up. Go to fundedsportstrader.com. 365 Sports is the promo code. You can save 10%. Catherine, can't wait to get going with this even more. We'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. There's Catherine. And Funded Sports Trader, again, our promo code 365 Sports. You'll save 10%. If you think you've got the chops to be, picking games, you go through 3 levels of, trying out and picking games. And then if you pass the 3rd level, you can have your picks and make money off making picks like Catherine just did for us here. At fundedsportstrader.com. Again, promo code 365 Sports. That's the top 5 for today. We're back to wrap it up and send you into the weekend right after this.
Fun. It was fun.
No, it was great. It's great. The chat room loved it.
Yeah, and we are here to serve.
The chat room loved it. By the way, good luck to the Stars and Mavericks. Yep. Right?
Go Mavs.
Go Stars.
Stars up 3-2. Mavericks up 3-2 with a chance to close it out at home.
I'm obligated to say go Preds.
Who are they playing against?
The Canucks.
Okay, Vancouver. All right.
Yeah. So
I love hockey mascot or names.
But by the way, the Diamond Sports Group Bally Sports kerfuffle is like. Hit Comcast where Comcast has just dropped them completely. And they did it in the 3rd period of the Preds game the other night when all the goals were scored in that game. So my mother-in-law called me and was like, what's going on here? And who do I have to kill?
Yeah, that's
the sweetest lady in the world. It's like,
cool.
This is not cool. But I was like, yeah, well, blame Sinclair Media.
There you go. And that's just a mess. I see Patrick Crakes, Bob Thompson, among others, are out there just trying to tell that story, and it's over the top for me. All right, we're back on Monday. Don't forget, Monday through Thursday, 1 until 2, triple option with Paul and Garrett. And then we're back on every weekday from 3 until 6 right here on 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, and also thanks to Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, Levi Caraway, spoke with him for a couple of minutes earlier in the week as he's wrapping up his coverage of Baylor baseball over the next week or two. And Garrett Ross, Craig Smoak, thank you very much. To our sponsors, thank you every single day for allowing us to do what we do on 365 Sports. Have a great weekend.
And please hit that like and subscribe button. It goes a long way. We do appreciate it. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Good night. Have a great weekend.